morning, Excellencies and dear colleagues. Our program this morning is we started it actually yesterday, but we'll probably want to, and it's going to be recorded. So we are thanks to Kadiri, the key boy, and who insisted and who has offered to bankroll the recording of this event, because he said we need it for our main. It's also going to be a reminiscence later. So, and it's good to have it. So we're going to start off, not in any particular order, but I think it's only good to start with Ambassador Potter. Whichever way you can set the ball. Those had comment like from Kadiri, who says, well, he was with him in PPP. He himself says, oh, he has a boss then. He says, no, he was also with the minister, Akiyemi, and he's still very close to all of them. These are some of the things we want to know about and hear more. And I recall also, I was not in PPD, but people don't even often know that I wasn't in PPD. But I remember getting a call from him. You see, I have said that you let this boy come. Now he has sent us a paper that is good for Kuru. So he's going to come. And that's how he dragged me to say, you are going to be part of the Kuru market. Subsequently, it was in 1991 when we were planning AE meeting. And he insisted that, said, you were the first person to bring a laptop. Texas. I can remember. He's asked to help us with IT. That's 1991. Ambassador Tulumi and others were bringing this key so cool. I said, no. In 19 something. Wally brought in Texas instrument that I know. Let's bring him in. These are some of the encounters that some of us had with him. And of course, we'll be telling you of Paris and things like that. Me, I'm just a humble. I'm not a village boy, I'm a Lagos boy. We don't have village in Lagos.
Oh my, go for show.
Have
you seen your certificate?
It's signed by Madrigo. The colonial government. We don't go about with Swan certificate. Swan Abidan, that it was destroyed in whatever. Born on Tokumbo Street at Kerele Maternity Home, and my birth certificate was signed by Madrigo, the Governor General of Lagos. I said Tokumbo Street.
I thought you said bed.
I still have my British passport. Because those of us who are born in before independence in colony, we are British
citizens.
What's the difference between subject and citizens?
One is oppressed and the other is the oppressor.
Look, don't start from colonial war here. Who are never part of Nigeria? It's called colony, protectorate of southern Nigeria and a colony of Lagos. We were never part of you Nigerians and your problems. You decided to incorporate us by force. Let's leave it that way, sir. Excellency, I'm handing over to you to lead us by telling us in brief that then we can, how you are connected with some of the characters on this table, from that keyboard to this rascal sitting next to you, and Ayo, Bank Ayo.
In yourself.
Excellency, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning, all. I think for now, it's just for me to again welcome everyone. I think it is be better for me to wait till the very end before embarking on the instructions from the Addis, one of the Addis Mafia here. So I think honestly the most important thing for me is the affection that you have for each other, the affection we have for ourselves. Without that, we'll not be assembling here. And that anchors on the heritage we all share in different formats. The instrument, the tool of the diplomatic service, of multilateral service, of living in different capitals of the world, with its challenges, with its robustness. They encapsulate, they make up who we are today, whether we are natives, we are conscious of it or not. And in that regard, I want to recall two things. One is what lives with me till today is from my first permanent secretary in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who were the first set to be recruited after the Nigerian Civil War. One of the things he said to us, he said, you are coming to a ministry that you're going to handle, you see all sorts of levels, you see confidential, secret, top secret, don't get carried away. He said secrecy is a function of time and space. What is secret today? End time. So we should always bear it in mind. That's number one. Number two, especially in our own society, where there are so many interlocking relationships. Many of you have heard of it. He set different records. It was ambassador in Japan, it was ambassador in India. The retirement age at that time was 55. And then Baba was 53 when he said it was done. So you can see us trying to grapple with. And I think what he said has been so particular about Nigeria. These are the people who serve the country selflessly. And for also have been his hand, and my own set also provided a different chapeau. So what do I mean by a different chapeau? A foundation of a different sort. We have many people who came in with PhD, many people with masters, many people with very experienced. Some of them have lectured in London, and some of them were appointed first secretary direct, which never happened in the foreign service at that time. So we had quite a galaxy of some of the names you know. Some of them are still there. Some transfer from the different states at that time directly. They didn't do that. They had to interview them, and they were appointed. It was later they regularized their transfer. And some of you know Dr. Okuku, Dr. Akonle, Abua, quite a lot of them, some of them were teaching in universities in UK at that time, so that's how they come. So I'll leave it at that. I'll let others, just to welcome you. I will speak towards the end in terms of what he wants me to say. I agree with you, we don't go in a particular order. There's no, just anybody who is ready should take the floor. And thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And by the way, Madam Ambassadors who are also here, you are part of our experience. They are posted or at headquarters. So
You're talking of Bridget's wife.
I'm talking of Mrs. I'm talking of my sake, you know, and I'm talking of our great teacher, Mama Dish. and Mrs. Olale here, and they are part of the journey. And of course, Elijah Obeleyeru, who was always taking good care of us. When the chair was really chair and really loud.
Even in London.
Anyway, he's the world chair.
The world chair.
He's the world chair. So please, we would like you to fill in the gap for us from your little corner of some of the experiences. But I'm going to start. Here's my one here, my 3-in-1. We are missing. They say she's my 3-in-1. She's married to her sister. She's married to my brother. And we are colleagues. That's how we arrive at that 3-in-1. 3-in-1. I'd love to call on us about it.
It's not a recommendation.
Yes, sir.
As an icebreaker, I will try to tell the story of his first week before his service.
It's one of the things you put in the, that's at the elevator when you run into the elevator with the grade, stand up. Tell yourself. Come on. Let's see.
I'll tell the story before you go back.
You go back to your reminiscence.
Yes. Face the camera.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today is a very important day for me. Because of who I was about, but at least they have been my chief mentor in my ground foreign service, and I'm still. But before I do that, let me just recall my first few weeks in the Bishop of Foreign Affairs to still Marina Road. I went to Ibadan and I was a Marxist. I was even the communist. I was I'm on the extreme left, so this radicalism was in me, and then I joined the foreign service. I recall during my interview, because that was where I first met Ambassador Femi. I think he was on the panel that he interviewed in Ondo State. Yeah, it was Ondo State. I think it was, And the panel of course, during the interview, because we were many, we were doing, what do you call it, this orientation as compass. And then we were all invited for the interview. So, myself and Odi, our colleague and friend, we formed a class on the street, because we were just 2 men, and then they would come and invite 5 or 6 persons up the class and come and what is the difference between one environment and the trend? What is this and that? So we were holding course on the street. When I went in to be the panel, my own song, and then just so sit down beside we were singing. And then the person asked me, yes, what's the difference between and I burst into laughter. Why are you laughing? Because I was expecting it. Well, so eventually I made it to foreign affairs. And then that was during why it was during Ijabo Buhari. I never knew the farm sector. I think IOD then was on okay? Where's my organization? 8th floor. Just 8th floor. So of course, you must take the lift. So if you get to where the lift is, you have the left side and the right side. The right side, they say queue here. Yeah. So queue here. Yeah. And the other one is on queue. So I just saw somebody carrying the file. He just dropped at it. He held a file like this. I went and stayed there where they say queue here. But some people were avoiding him. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know him. So, but they said queue here. So I went there. When I stood behind him, then he turned and looked at me and let him look. Exactly. And I just carried on. Radical. I didn't know. So I just sit and people on the other side and the wrong queue. And some people were. I didn't know what it meant. So when the lift came, opened up, he went in, and that's what he And brother, nobody moved because they knew. I just entered, and then again he looked at me again. But since I entered, then okay, come, and everybody came, and then I stood there. Meanwhile, I was late, so I was already late. He said, young man, are you from? I said, yes. Then, yes. Can I see your ID card? Can I see your ID card? I said, my ID card? Oh, yes, why not? He gave the ID card. And they say that, okay, did you send to you? I was trying to people were nudging me. I didn't know that they were getting I didn't know. That was when you were there kicking me. So eventually, when we got to the floor, I think outside office was fifth floor. But I saw the bar. And then I followed him. Because I wanted to get my ID card back. I said, young man, you better go back. You're already late to work. So this is why I get discipline. You better go back. Oh my God. The work don't finish. It's over. I think before I came to my brother 1 million, after 3 times, now that's the end of the road. So I was still following, I followed the doctor his office. Then he said, young man, you're still following me. I said, go back. I'm saying you want, I don't know. Eventually, I said, I said, no, I'm dead. I think there was no. For 3 days, I'm saying this is not lying. 3 days, I was not really hungry. I didn't.
Even with your baptism.
And then, yes, and I used to enjoy foreign affairs then because that time things were good. You know, not like now. The photo card then was about 4,000 and what was the
What do you mean like now?
My course is like this. In the morning, I take my motorway to CMS. Once I do CMS, there's this Mr. Biggs where you go and eat on the left, close to the bank. What is that? So the good life I was living there was I go there every morning, one scotch egg and what do you call it? A bottle of meat pie. And I was on top of the road. That was my own ultimate. I said, so this is finishing now.
What about Soweto?
So eventually, nothing happened. Sincerely, nothing happened. And later, I just went. I met Adamu, our colleague was in charge of what you call it, ID card. And they gave me another one. And that was it. Nothing happened. So that is the story.
And who was this palm sec?
You saw a tall man, a strong man, was going to look for trouble.
So, can I proceed now?
Okay. Yeah, you can proceed now.
Yes.
Now you can proceed.
Coming back to well, of course, everybody. But it was myself and my family. I never knew about that. I never knew a cleaner to use of foreign. A cleaner, I never knew.
Well, you just told us you need to bedroom.
So, my first person was buying. But that was So I was the first from ourselves to travel abroad. So I met in the back part I was to go to Geneva. I never knew Geneva could become my own again. From the very beginning. So I was to go to Geneva for the second NPT review conference. Yes, the second NPT review conference. I saw let's so for NPT review conference. Then you must see on that because he was at the first NPT. So I went and met him. Oh, he gave me lots of advice. This is what you should spend and that. I was so happy with Amazon. Then there was not ambassador. For that time, that year, the chair was senior first secretary or something. So we used to look at him. Oh, and you see him school. Really good. No, it was a big post there.
SFS.
So, I was in IOD and eventually I went to Geneva and I came back. My parents didn't know it because that was my first trip abroad. And I was, maybe I should do this, starting with him. I didn't know it. And all I had from Abuja was they gave me my AIE. That I came to Geneva, that the mission was in my restaurant. So I didn't have $1. I just went and bought it. Because the traffic was too much. That was the first time I was going to go to the first time I would leave my country. So many things. I said, I have no doubt. Come on.
This Bushman
I only had
from
my letter. And then,
And you were a resounding bachelor.
it was 1985. I'm coming to you. It was 1985. That was when IBB school took place. Already, they could cost me in Lagos because I'm short on international borders. So, there was no flight to Geneva. I said, my God, my first trip abroad. And then, no, I will not wait. We were there. Okay, that time, if you're going to international, you go through Lagos. Abuja,
You are not in Abuja. This man has going straight now. You just said you were in 23 Marina now.
Sorry.
Please. Call him some slack.
How many times have you been winding?
So I needed some. So we got to London, and there was no way I couldn't reach the mission because there was this school in instruction. So how do I do? I didn't have a guy. So I needed maybe a call or something to make a phone call. And I saw. I think he was going to London, but he said, I just saw the thing going around. I saw his phone, and then Nigeria, this and that. We have Philippines. Philippines was going to
Very smart.
This is always a big deal.
That's a smart move.
I just followed him. And I produced myself. I told him, I said, don't get like that. I'm going for any conference. I don't have anything. I have the idea. I couldn't reach the mission or so on. He said, I be strong. So, okay. I said, I'm not with my friends are here to pick me. So what I did, I just gave me $5 or something. And it was, that was the first time I was schooling. So I came back. So when I came back, then we had been scheduled to report at the Foreign Service Academy. So I went to the academy. That's how I came. So that was to teach us the art of political reporting. So he came, and you know him. Young man, don't put you very good. Not he gave us the lecture. So, the Q&A, questions and answers. And then my colleagues were asking questions. And I took it on. I challenged his presentation. I said, which is world.
You brought your mic this way.
I just attacked. Then he said, what's your name? He said, Abukari. And he went to Ibadan. We read the science. Okay, see me after this one. I don't know how. That was how we met. That was to ask those 3 questions. What's your name? Abukari. He went to Ibadan. Yes. And we read the science. See me after this one. Not knowing that he was already shopping for someone to replace Akisho Eton. Because Akisho Eton was to go to the academy after my own set. So he asked Akisho Eton, I said, Kadiri can be a good replacement for me. Now, all this came up later. You know. So after the class, I went to meet him and he told me, look, I said that I'm impressed, I've heard about you, this and that, and I saw the way you took me on. This is the kind of thing and so kind of inquisitive mind and so on. So I want to come and work with you. And I can sure it was going to the academy, that's why I didn't it was he who told me about you. That's how I met Amazon.
Keep the rest for second part. We'll call you.
I'll keep the rest. That's how we met.
Part 2. The PPP, right? You belong. Can't help me clap for this, how we can do the nicest from UI, but who has made a 360-degree turn. And now, a Putin capitalist.
Capitalist. Or pluricapitalist.
Pluricapitalist. Yes. He has broken the ice. I'm looking at Aladi, don't do that. Are you are next. Yes, that's why I said I will call and I just wanted to harass you. Who else can take over other than the chair? Because of chair. Because it's a bridge. See, just like a guy is a bridge. But if you are looking at a bridge for a bridge across many divides, north, south, east, west, grades or killer or whatever, you have to share. That's why it's about here. You have the force, sir.
Thank you very much. I think I should also thank this very good initiative.
It's not mine.
Yeah, I mean,
The conspirators have identified, some of them identified, some have been silent. It's not mine. I shouldn't take credit for what is not mine.
I never knew I was Kapata actually as an officer, but then when they say chair, people thought that chair actually started when the E-Forum was established. No, that was not true. Because in Lagos, we were there, and no circulars were not issued. Things are always posting, is the posting file. If the posting file into it, people will continue to follow that. It has left. And so, a lot of things will happen. People will talk about posting committee members. You know this, you know that. So, in room 104 at that time in Lagos, we used to talk about those things we call informal, what they call it grapevine. They say the informal news going on because you don't have circulars, so you have to create that bridge. So I was a reporter's name used to recall every time, and then of course, Kadiri talked about revenue. We also thought that the reporter was actually the reporter of his name, in terms of administration, in terms of making things happen. And so therefore, when I met him a few months ago, and of course, Kadiri and all our colleagues, we talked about the reporter. But I think my first chapter, my first chapter in this my reminiscence is to talk about what happened to us. When I say us, I'm talking about Ambassador Ella and T.A. Jimo, and then in Baghdad. We were in Baghdad after Ambassador J.K. Umar. He was the charge at that time, so he left. So we now posted a non-career ambassador to and of course, we are used to all these foreign service jargons here and there, but we never knew that we were going to have a big time with this ambassador, non-career ambassador. As soon as he came, we received him at the airport, and then he told us, look, officers, you should know that I'm Mr. President's choose. Later we now realize that he made choice. And then we took him to the residence. The resident was already at the time. He didn't take him to the hotel. Because he had a very modest family, one wife and one child. So we dropped him in the residence and then we left. Because there are some resident staff also. We left to go, left our houses. Then he phoned. I said, you guys, you just leave me here. What are you going to happen? I'm going to stay in the residence alone with Madame only. Nobody's coming to play with me. No, you should be reporting to the residence. we appointed a resident, and it was from Borno State, so he had this very famous kuka soup. So he made kuka soup and said, do you know how to eat kuka? Because I'm at the Ella, and then I do a we have blue, but we don't use it. So we were forced to take it. And then he said, okay. I thought he was the local government chairman. And then he said, yes, okay, what else? Do you people know how to play cards? I said, oh. This is foreign service. We should be talking to you about what will happen. And then, so he said, okay, I will teach you. Teach you how to play the cards. So he taught us like this blackjack and something like that. They call it agbatasha. And then, so each time he talked, he said, don't see me like this. Don't see me like this. Apparently, it's Hausa translation of Kakagan Kaka. So he said, don't see me like this. That is when he's on a very emotional, excited. But then, it was nice, it was going on. So we told him, Excellency, you are an ambassador. But when you present your credentials, then you now start going to receptions, and then you now be introduced to ambassadors. So we presented credentials. And then, when we told him exactly what to say, we said, ambassador, extraordinary, and plenty potential. It took him about 3 days. He couldn't pronounce. He said, please remove it. I will cram it without this extraordinary and No, we said no. That you can't remove because there are ambassadors and there are ambassadors. Because you are having letters of Mr. President, you have to say extraordinary. So he said, okay, I will cram it. But luckily, of course, Saddam, they would always, he would speak in English and then somebody would interpret in Arabic. They didn't prepare an interpreter for Saddam at that time. So I was one interpreter. So when he now, of course, there are 3 paragraphs. I have the honor to present, blah, 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 this and that. So 3 paragraphs. So we took the first paragraph and then jumped to the 3rd paragraph. and then even the extraordinary and the potential but anyway, we tried to.
So you had it?
Yes.
What did you have?
He presented the credentials. But then the first day in the office, we were supposed to pay the FSA. So he saw this money. So Ambassador Mr. Alaji Amonekoro was the accountant at that time. Then he had a full complement. So his own FSA was about 4,000 something. And Amonekoro was almost the same size. And then every other person followed. Then he said, look, where did you get this figures? You junior officers, 2,000 this and that. I belong to the party. And during the election, I was carrying ballot boxes here and there. Only for me to come and get 4,000. Go and reduce all the put it. This is not correct. This is from Lagos. He said, what do you mean by Lagos? What do you mean by Lagos? Go and do it. We said, no, we can't. So we brought him all the FSA charts. So one day we were to carry the bags, big bags. And then he just brought shoes, which he brought from we quoted Vienna Convention, the money bag was this side, so we put it there. He said, put it there. And when he got there, we got the receipt, this way bill that they said. And it was actually signed for by Ambassador Clark. So when the way bill came in the other bag, he now called us. He said, you guys tell me about Lagos. About Lagos. This shoot went to Lagos, and Lagos has now received it. So that means it's not against the rule that you are talking about. So please, don't tell me about Lagos anymore. I am the Lagos. And that was actually So the day now he wanted to, I mean, he was now to go for reception. So he went for the reception. So we told him, so yes, you can now go for reception. So he went there. And after 2 hours, for reception is already there. So he came back and he called all of us. What happened with all of us? So we told him, is that what you call reception? In the local government reception, there were a lot of people dancing, they will put us in the hotel, this. And this one, people come to interview you like journalists, and then you are standing for 1 hour, no seat, no chair, nothing. So he was completely, I mean, he was really active. That is how we continue for about 2 years or something. But the war, the Iraqi-Iranian war, so the rest. So then, Ambassador Ella, you know, so when he was really, I mean, amused all the time, because Ambassador Ella used to smoke in London.
I remember very well.
Yes, they look at Ella. Ella would be making a gum down here. I am taking Ganye. You know what is Ganye? That is, so, this thing is not, so it shouldn't make Ganga. So it was a good comic relief. I mean, you know, like when you are, was a J.K. Umar, everything was civil service rules, you know, political reports. So then they told me that I should just sign. I should just sign that you people will write me something and I will sign. So after 3 months, he called us and said, look, I have been signing since for the past 3 months, you have not written something for me to sign. So we go, okay. It's okay. Have you read it very well? He said, okay. It's your ministry, I'm not there. So he will sign. So he just said, write me something to sign. So one day they brought him vouchers, and then he put different signatures. So then Mr. Lejam Corona called me and said, look, I'm going to go and talk to the pastor that this signature is not. Then when I talked to him, but I'll just try to look for a way to talk to him about it. I said, Excellency, you know, people have different signatures. Like you have one signature for the circulars, one signature for the bank, so maybe you must have he said, I mean, so you're a crook like myself. Every time you bring something for me to sign, I sign, you go. I sign, you go. Let me try this. So those are actually what happened. So we had a bad deal with him at the end of the day when Ella left and T.A. Jima came. And then there was, he changed the schedule because Ella was the head of Chancellery. And then he didn't, so he changed the schedule and T.A. Jima wasn't happy about it. And then there was a lot of crisis in the nation. T.A. Jima was posted to Beirut, where he eventually died. And we were posted anyway. That is the perfect chapter. But I will also go to the
You can never be disappointed.
I think that one is overshadows all your experience because that was very exciting. It's a peculiar exposure and experience.
Excellency, you might want to wait. He has more.
Wow.
And I can see Elijah is smiling because we help us fill in the blank. But Joe will never miss any aspect anyway. Okay, yes, I'm looking around the table. Who wants to break the ice again?
You don't want your wife to be snatched away from you.
No, sir.
Kumsi should be next.
I 3-1. Go back.
Good morning, yes, I happen to be like my colleague. He came in 1983 into the service. we happened, according to what they said, we were imposed on the ministry. And we paid for it. They never missed 1 second to let us know that we were actually imposed on the ministry. So we came in about 100 and something, and I eventually got into IoT. Particularly, I was eventually put to Second United Nations. So I work with Mrs. Gary. So, but while we were there, we were just waiting to go to the academy because we had to go to the academy for us to be prepared as foreign service officer. So we were more or less treated as if we are another year in there. But like I did, the best of each one of us was pronounced. Kadri was good, and it's still good. Because it's one of so but Ambassador Garuba has this attitude that you have to wait for your turn. No matter what we put together, because it happened to be the first time, Nairobi conference concerning Commission on Status of Women with Beijing, which later became Beijing plus 5. She made it clear that we are no-go area for even the gender we are, that we could be benefit from it. Then while we don't even know what it entails, but we got to know that it's something that will be beneficial for us in the future. Or not to be that I will eventually sit on that desk as Second United Nations in the permission. So we waited, eventually we were taken in batches to go to the academy. The first batch came, I was not included. Eventually I was able to get into the second batch. And when we finished with the second, actually the academy now gave us the curriculum as to who we are. The theoretical part and then the practical to go to the states. The way we were addressed, thank God that we eventually became ambassadors. We were addressed as Your Excellency here, especially in all the states. And it was more like going there for us to know what is deposited in all our states. So that when we go get to our missions, we will be able to advocate for some of the things they have that we could also bring investors into those states. We succeeded in academy and the finishing. Like I said, we were more like a victim. No posting, no attachment.
No promotion.
No promotion. It was our set, they started quota promotion. That some people are second quota, second secretary. Bad blood, bad blood. That some of us are saying, so you are a second secretary, I'm still a first secretary. Hey, look, we got confirmation. Confirmation is automatic to second secretary. But to move forward, they started selecting on quota. We eventually sailed through, but the posting which is supposed to be attachment to trainers became an accolades job for us. Some of us got their own posting normally, but the majority of us waited. And eventually, in 1988, they said they are ready to move us from attachment. But it happened that I was mistakenly muted. Getting into the ministry in 1983 and 1988, when my colleagues were going, when the list came out, I was not there. Why I came? Fortunately, I believe that wherever I am, I should continue improving myself. So I was doing a postgraduate. I was doing a postgraduate course in Unilag, Masters in International Law and Diplomacy. So I felt bad. I felt rejected. That how could this happen? We waited this long, and yet when let my people go, my name was not there. But fortunately, one of our senior officers was at the Shimiko.
Let my people go.
Ambassador Shimiko told me, he said, Kobe, posting is a continuous exercise. But if you buy your master program, you will regret it. So go back. Don't bother about what is happening in the ministry. You just go back. When you get there, you make the best use of it. Because it is a continuous, you will eventually be posted. So I did. And when I came back, I was again in protocol. And I kept on doing the work. Before that, I didn't give up. I went to Ambassador Lumoko, who happened to work in the bank said, Your Excellency, I said, sir, I didn't know why I was omitted. Why? I said, okay, we will look into it. Then they agreed to say they will look into it. But eventually I got to know, apparently it was because of job role. Some people have preference to where they wanted to go, and it's still approaching to do. Apparently it might have been where they put me, somebody was interested, and they removed, but they did not place me in somewhere else. So that was where I was mistakenly appointed. Cut story, in 1991, I was posted to Vi Lumetugu, to Vi Watanafa, who happened to be my colleague. So on getting there, Ambassador Sotu was ready to leave. So Ambassador Sotu was waiting for me. I got into my post as a first secretary. By the time I was leaving, I was still a second secretary. But promotion had already been effected, so I was a fourth secretary. Ambassador Sotu said, are you the one posted there? I said, as at now, I'm the one. Ambassador Sotu was worried. And you know, that is where ministry was ministry. They don't wait until, they don't give reason of medical, I needed to wait admission, I still have something doing. No, he said he has finished his term and he's been recalled. What will they be doing? So he sent messages to headquarters. They said, as at now, I'm the one posted that if there's any senior officer that will eventually come, which happened to be Ambassador Elijah, not now. The good thing is that you're a foreign service officer. It doesn't have to be in terms of cadre or in terms of level. It's in terms of what you are going through as a foreign service officer in that cadre. I'm leaving you in charge of this mission. He said yes. And I'm going to write it down. So I happen to become in charge.
You're not telling the whole story at all. Once you finish with them, you sit down, I'll call you.
Okay. So I became, but fortunately, I developed rapport with all my colleagues in the mission. Then it coincided that I needed evacuation from Liberia. And Togolese are involved too in Liberia. And they needed Nigeria assistance to evacuate the Togolese in Liberia. I was someone in the foreign ministry. And not only the foreign ministry, to the minister's office, because they said, in as much as she's the one representing Nigeria in Lome, we don't relate with anyone lower than that. And this is when I go back, like the meeting, they said, oh, we wanted you to get a message across to Nigeria, to the president, that we are ready to accept whatever is going to result. They should please accommodate every release from Liberia. That was first March.
Baptism of fire.
So I go back to the nation with my colleague, we put it together in our own meeting, but we were able to get the substance. And I'm the honor to do the photo. But the good thing, I still kept the letter, Ambassador first sent me. He said, I didn't regret the work until a senior officer before I made my once you committed to something as a foreign service officer, you have done how you made me.
Before you go on, since she became a charge as a first secretary, let me just put an antidote. Please sit down. And everybody should sit and tell their story from because the music is not disturbing us. I said you were perfect. There was a time in my early career, every posting that was released, this village boy's name appeared on it from 1975 to 79. You can imagine, every year that posting was released, my name appeared. was in Bonn. I moved to Bonn from Dublin in the summer of '75. In Dublin at that time, we had the HIJ, but our ambassador was the High Commissioner in London, so we didn't have the resident ambassador. So I was moved to Bonn. Very hot summer, delicious summer of '75. July. October posting was released. My name was there.
How?
Yes. To move in December, early December, to Guinea-Bissau. What was happening at that time was those of us in Europe who had been moved to Africa, those in Africa, who were in my own generation. And I had an ambassador of blessed memory, Ambassador Yola. He received the telegram, and the communication officer was instructed not to break the news to me, that he would speak to me personally. So he called me to his office and said, "Shegun, you've been posted, he showed me the telegram. But here we are, I don't want you to go." My greatest headache in this mission was the consular matters, particularly as students, which was true. When I arrived in Bonn, the heap of file I inherited was almost my height in my office. He had instructed them that my first day of reporting to the office, that nobody should show me in my office, they should bring me into his office. So he welcomed me and took me personally to the office I was going to use and said, "Oh, this, you don't get intimidated, you clear it at your own time." So, and I was lucky I had a German secretary. She was extremely good. So what I used, I would dictate to her, she goes to fair, and I write others, oh man, because these were not challenging matters. So, in the space of 4 weeks, I clear all the files. So, he had come to my office, was in the 5th week, to check how I was settling down. And he asked me, "Where did you manage to keep all these files?" I said, "I've cleared them." He opened his mouth in complete disbelief. Anyway, fast forward, he said I should not go. He didn't want me to leave. And I said, "Excellency, I thank you for your good intentions." And then he slammed a lacuna that any officer will have a challenge saying no to. He said, "Your wife is expecting your first baby. There are no good medical services in Guinea-Bissau. It's just emerging from a war of independence. You don't want to subject your wife to that type of environment." I thank him, very genuine, was very passionate. And I said, "Ambassador, my philosophy is never to reject posting. My name has appeared. The officer to advise me is already set his mind on coming to Bonn. He wouldn't know that you are the one that says I should not go. He will forever hold it against me." I said, "That is number one." And they said, "Oh, I can resolve that. The PAMSEC is my good friend, Ambassador Aminu Sanusi." I said, "Yes, I know Ambassador Aminu Sanusi too. Not in any, I've taken note in his office. One of the people I have the greatest regard for integrity and honor. It's a different story." So I said, "Sir, with due respect, I'll go to Guinea-Bissau." It wasn't, he said I should go and reflect on it. I said, "Thank you, sir." So I left. What he didn't tell me was that he was going to phone my house. So he called my wife and said, "Your husband has been posted. Yes, that can you convince him to stay in Bonn?" So I got home in the evening after office. We were having dinner. And she just mentioned casually, your ambassador called. I said, called? I was the first secretary. And I said, what did he tell you? He said, what did he tell me? But you didn't tell me you had been posted. I said, I was waiting to get home to tell you. I said, what was your response? He said, I told him, it is your excellency, I'll deliver your message, but Shegun will say, are you the one employed in the foreign service? So he said they would deliver. I said, thank you. So the following day, I went to the ambassador's office, and I said, Sir Excellency, my wife delivered your message, sir, but I still believe that I'll proceed to Guinea-Bissau. He said, I can't dissuade you. He said, I said, don't put it that way, sir. It's just that this philosophy of mine, I want to adhere to it. Because I didn't want to create a dynamic I couldn't. So I got to Guinea-Bissau. Oh, an instruction that later came that I should pass through Lagos on going to Guinea-Bissau. Unbeknown to me, there are no mobile phone there, no, was that I was to head the team to go and establish an embassy in Guinea-Bissau. I didn't know. I didn't know that we didn't even have an embassy there at that time. So I got to headquarters in Lagos. And meanwhile, fortunately, her brother was in London. And I said, I don't know how long I'm going to stay in Lagos. You stay in London, you go to London when I'm done my way. And she was insisting I must have my baby wherever you are. I said, fine, let me get to Guinea-Bissau first. Let me go and see the medical facilities, and I will relate that to you. So I got to Lagos, and they coup happened. Murtala Muhammad coup. So borders were closed. I couldn't move. And behold, I was walking the Republic, they ran into late Ambassador Fora, and they just said, young man, where's your wife? I understand she's pregnant. I said, yes. She's in London with her brother. Bring me a memo, she should have her baby there. So I went to Kobani's office, I wrote a quick memo, and in less than 30 minutes, the instruction has gone to London that they should look after her in London. So, fortunately, a classmate of mine, a friend of mine, was working as one of the assistants to Obasanjo as chief of staff, who later became Ambassador Montayo. I don't know any of you who know him. Well, yes. So, it was from his office I could call her in London because the telephone lines were disconnected around that time. So I said, yeah, you're having your baby in London. Anyway, so I got to Guinea-Bissau, and that's the point, as first secretary. And thank God I went. You will not exchange that experience for any other thing. This village boy will be driving on the street. The president will be driving his own car. We'll meet on the street. He will get out of his car. And I'll get out, we'll be conversing on the street. Did any of you have that experience? I'm done. Come on. So, both of us sang easy.
Thank you very much, Excellency. You see, it's part of the even though we're talking about something good and something nice, I hope we will continue in that. But Ambassador Abuka just said something that struck me. And as we're talking very well about Ambassador Apata, there are times we also have not so good memories of some of our other senior colleagues. She mentioned one of them, because in Nairobi then, I know that those who are with her did not had similar experiences of not, it was starting then, whereas you get people like Ambassador who try to train and mentor you, and there are those who believe you should wait for your turn. And somebody today who is one of our colleagues, who is also who has done very well, had a similar experience. He should have been with us, but he's not. That's Shola Nikolai. He also had a similar experience with that senior colleague, to the extent that Ambassador David just called me and said, "It's your friend to make sure that he attends that meeting in Oxford there with Ambassador Nuhu Mohammed, who is my friend." That's Ambassador apparently said, "Do you have some money with you that we have to use on leftover from the mission?" And I said, "Yes." So he said, "I'm going to call Ambassador Nuhu Mohammed. You're going to give them some money to make that mission." And he overruled this person and put Shola in Conlaye's. And it's like Babari was telling us his experience with Nuhu Mohammed. It was the first time that Shola in Conlaye we meet with the great Ayatollah, as they try to call it. So I'm just trying to recall that Shola in Conlaye is not here.
Yeah,
She's
my
not-
background journey was unfortunately.
Yeah, she's not the only one that had that experience in Sun. Again, I remember that I used to be in fun with Ambassador with SAB, who is always well dressed. Fine, yeah. Everything is yes, everything is on match. And Ambassador Bolore will remember, Oga will say, "Look at this, my two senior, my two minister councillors. They want to be addressed as acting deputy director." And they actually sent him a memo, and he said, "No objection." But they will say, "You have to make sure you get Liu and pin him down." That is a throat. EB will only be going about with his fine dress. And I will say, "I concur in toto." Well, I just wanted to bring that up. Shola wrote so many things. He did so many papers and everything. And every time, the overall, the reporting supervising officer said, "No, can't go." But apparently the big boss was also, he reached back the file, he observed what was happening, and then he just said, "I'm calling, I'm going to ask Ambassador Nuhu Mohammed to go from," he was DG Consular.
Consular.
Yeah, that he's going to ask the DG Consular to go, not from this department, not from some, but an officer will accompany them. Call that your friend and make sure you provide them with the money. You can do the accounts later. And that's how, and it was the first mission Shola will do. But that is history. So as we are recalling the good and the, we are also going to be recalling some of the things that some of our not so good things at the time. Now that I have.
Another lady, Jane, you have the floor, sir.
Well, it is not me who imposed that on you.
This is Mother from above.
Yeah, Auntie Jane. Not yet. Okay, she's trying to gather her something.
Okay, okay.
But I will call my mom from Ileoluji. Yes, sir.
That's Ambassador Lepo, isn't it?
No. Ambassador Kwayori.
Okay, yes. Ileoluji also.
Good morning, Your Excellencies.
Emma Bomisa.
My experience in the Nigerian Foreign Service.
Part one, please.
Yes, part one. Started in 1974 as a young graduate from University of Ibadan. We didn't do youth service. I think we were the last set who didn't do youth service. We're entering the Republic building. I met a huge man by the name, I didn't know his name now, by that time. Then he announced, those of you going to the Ministry of External Affairs. So we all came down, and we entered the lift again. He took us to the 5th floor, then 5th floor.
You are listening too much, oh. We were asking to leave your camera and you are paying too much fun.
He took us to the 5th floor.
I know.
As I came down, this gentleman, because my tie was so big in the university, I was part of the revolutionary. Yes, I was the House Secretary 70-71, University of Ibadan, when Kule Adepoju was killed. So I was jailed at the Yadoku police station. So I was, anything you can think of. So the man said, your tie is
Communist.
noted it for me. I never saw him again. Then I went to Mauritania. I came back 77, where I served under Ambassador Apata, American Department. Then in 1980, now in Liberia, this big gentleman came in. Now I was head of transfer. I now know his name to be Mr. Owuwabo, who used to be the security. So I was now his boss. Later on, I learned that he started work in 1950. The year I was born.
Correct?
Yes.
Then
he was the ADC to our first Prime Minister,
correct?
Tafawa Balewa.
Yeah.
So he would now be coming to my office. Good morning, sir. I have to stand, no, sir. Yeah. So that was my first experience. My second noted experience again in Liberia. I was there then with Ambassador Martins and my colleague Muazu. We were there the very night the late Oba was killed. Unfortunately, we had our foreign minister then, Ishaya Odu, together with the Togolese foreign minister. They came to see Talbot, who was then the chairman of the OAU then. So, me and the Ambassador Martins, my good self and Muasu, together with two foreign ministers, were the last people who really saw Talbot alive. Immediately we left the presidential palace at 12:15. The then Sergeant Doe,
Master Sergeant.
yes, stuck. Now, what are we going to do with the Shire? How do we fly him out? Because the borders have been closed. The next, he came with his own plane, quite all right. But you have to take permission to overfly, and to get out. Ambassador Martin said the following morning, how do we meet Sergeant Doe? Luckily for us, we have a Nigerian politician, Chief T.O.S. Benson, who was married to a Liberian, Oprah Benson. So, we have to look for the hotel T.O.S. Benson was staying. He was staying in Hotel Duco, those of you serving. So, I went to Hotel Duco, told him what has happened, said, okay, bring your car. So I have to cover the bonnet of our car with Nigerian flag. So took him to the resident, the resident anyway, Thomas Bolivar. To cut a long story short, we were able to see Sergeant Doe. Don't record this, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. That is that one that in my head don't hear that one very well. Yes, sir. Ambassador Wani, you wanted to talk?
No. Ambassador Wani. How are you? He's here.
He's here.
He's here. Okay.
Can I use the screen?
No. Yesterday I had a cap on, so I was thinking. Yes, okay.
Shola?
Yes.
Baba Benji.
Yeah, I mean, yes, sir. The excellencies who are down. Well, my background after how I got to the ministry, and then I first posted and I picked up at the ministry. But initially, I never thought I was coming to foreign affairs. But one of my uncles who was there, Ambassador Maliki, who was chief of protocol there.
Yeah, Abdul Malik.
No, not Abdul.
Not Abdul.
Yeah.
Damidi.
Their meeting.
Bola Malik is the father.
Everyone's father. So,
Bola Malik, yes.
yeah, he was the one who actually made me to decide to come to foreigners. Yes, to come and see what we are doing there. In the sense that this man was junior to my father, so junior cousin to my father, and this time he came home, the way he was carrying himself, and he behaved as if he went to school at the same time, he behaved as if he knew more than everybody. And I said to myself that I was going to go to that foreign affairs, but otherwise I wanted to be a journalist. None of that I intended to work. So when I got to, I did inside the university. I was not thinking very privately, good, and document I had. But my experience started from day one with one officer. I didn't know why. He just hated my face. And he didn't hide it. Even when we were when we were having our induction, this man, there was one day I just a little dozed off. Hey, Aboluri! But at the end of it, I had to go to the service one day and say, what did I do? They were so rude, and I said, after all, you didn't start as a foreign service officer. That was where, I mean, we became so unfriendly. He was a senior officer, was a counselor, and a private secretary. Because I was pushed to work. Now, we started working. I was posted to Ambassador Koladi. But Ambassador Koladi was a father. He was a father to
Not Mr. Makoladi, no.
No.
the one who died
The
recently.
couple of
But
months.
then he had the ambassador, this Rivers man, Koroyi, as deputy. Now, but then, I mean, it was myself, Otukoya, Tenelade, and Idowu, were the mafia. Yeah, in that we were all sitting down together, and Ambassador was so nice. But one thing that I got, which I liked there, was that which of I refused to be part of it. I felt like God that every morning people will go to the director's office. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. I said, then one day one of my colleagues asked me, why did you go and greet the ambassador? I said, no, I will not. Because the very day I didn't come, he would know that I was not around. And throughout, I didn't do that. And of course, Ambassador was so, he was giving, as third secretary, what he was giving us then to do. I think some councillors will not. We were going for meetings everywhere. In fact, that was where I met, in one of the meetings I went at the presidency as a core secretary to represent the department. That was when I met Ambassador Nasser, when we were asked to go and brief the vice president's wife, the Kwame. So, it was nice there. We were given we were assigned, we were gathering the experience. Then when the posting came, I was posted to Nairobi, another story. Everybody was coming to me. Hey, Shola, what did you do?
Who did you offend?
Who did you offend? I said, but I didn't even know the meaning. Nuhu Mohammed. Let me go there. And I got there. Well, I went with my 2 kids. And that is where I started learning the mischief in the foreign service. Now, for a young officer to have 2 kids, it was unthinkable for some officers. How could you have 2 kids? So they thought probably I borrowed kids from somewhere and brought them because of foreign service allowance. So the day we arrived, everybody was coming to see us, to see the kids. They are coming to see the kids. They said, true, how can you do Papa? But later, they got you. They were my kids. Then we started working. And you see, at that time, I think I was the only one who would not, just as I was doing in Lagos, I would be the only one that would not go and see the ambassador in the morning unless I had something to tell him, or unless he called me. I will never visit residence unless there was something at the residence. I would not. And of course, if he asked questions about anything, I would give him the answer that everybody knew. Not different. So the man was watching me. Then there was one time, immediately before my wife joined me, actually I had made arrangements that as soon as she arrived, she would travel to England to go and do shopping, because we were expecting the 3rd child there, that she would go and do shopping. Now, well, there was the wife of a courier, of our courier there, who was very friendly. She said she wanted to go to London. Okay, fine. Then she said you are going to go and tell the ambassador's wife. Then I told her, no, it's not an ambassador. That's not ambassador business. I brought you to Nairobi. So, we are not going to see any ambassadors for any partition. So, yeah. They went, and at that time, anyway, it was there was no visa to London, but they had to stay in Rome again. So, we applied for visa like any other person without note for that. I made sure there was nothing official, no note for that. And I made sure she went with her passport, ordinary passport. I made sure, I did not quite 1 week after she came back. There was a circular from Metropolis that the diplomatic passports were being abused by officers going everywhere. Then everybody started coming. Yeah. I said, I don't worry. You know, the news. When the ambassador came to the office, I was the first person to summon to my office, in his office. Where are your passports? I brought the passport. I put my wife's passport on top of it. I gave to him. He didn't even look at my name because he knew I didn't go anywhere. Then, but I had your wife travel to London. I said yes, she did. But no indications. Said she didn't use diplomatic passport. That went there as just an ordinary person. I mean, she went on not for official assignment. That's very good. So that was how we settled that. And then on and on, I got to know that the man just became very friendly with me. To the extent that when we were posted that Ambassador Kumane saw me, came to the airport to see me off. And even told me, he said to me, young man,
I told her treatment.
yes, I
did the toilet treatment.
there were two other incidents, and I thought he was going to be mad. He traveled to Chichester on official assignment. He went with an accountant. I was on the political desk. He went with the political, he went to an accountant, to the finance attaché. And then he came back, brought the papers, and asked me to write a report. And Excellency, when the issue of land in foreign affairs, if you are not a part of any event, and you come because how would I put my, I want to be my own input. He said, yes, sir, I'm sorry, sir. Just I said, okay, that's it. I went. Then another incident happened again. He said, he just called me to his office. He said, I think the wife had called my wife to come and help her prepare big akara. I think I told her to take permission from me. So it was unheard of for her. It was unheard of that the officer's wife would tell her to take permission from her husband. I think she called Ambassador Nuhu Muhammad. Ambassador called me. I said, can you please ask my son to go and help my dad to prepare this big thing. I thought my wife so we can go. So that was how we did the group out. And of course, I think there was another factor I remember because we did not be journalists, foreign journalists. Yes. So I think he was very friendly with the Swedish ambassador there. And then one of the Swedish journalists wanted to go to Nigeria. And then I was on consular secretary, and they asked me to just call me to take this passport, go and issue this visa. And I did that. But the person, you know, those things that he was not used to. Maybe Ambassador Obama, who has served there and also, and as I was telling me his experience there, that he confronted him. I mean, it was straight to Ambassador Room. I mean, the young officer, not technically for that matter, I loved it. He became very friendly and he was advising me, keep it up. And that was how we greeted throughout. Now,
are you on part 2?
I was also, no, let's go to Ambassador Adiliji, how I got to him.
Yalla.
Now, Ambassador has
that has to be part 2.
No, he's not part 2.
No, because other people want to have the floor.
Just 2 minutes for this.
I'm going to have two cards.
I'm but that
Red and yellow.
Father Unity was there. So when I was leaving Nairobi, I didn't know what note he gave me to Ambassador Unity. I didn't know what was on tape. But when I came in, I just read Ambassador Unity, gave it to him, and ran away. So it was later he started looking for me to come and work with him. And I think it was from that letter. And I was working with Ambassador Fajija there. They were all scouting. Okay, was looking for you. I would say I was clearing my face. That was why I got to Ambassador Unity. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Wale,
As a FIFA badge referee,
just give an anecdote to what he said. I was with the Ayatollah from 79 to 81. I didn't give you the Ayatollah. I think any of you know the origin of the appellation of Ayatollah. It was Professor Ibrahim Gambari as minister, because they had returned to headquarters by then as one of the DGs that gave him the appellation Ayatollah. I thought I should just add that. So, please continue. It should be Yinka Adeyemi next.
thank you, sir. I'm a FIFA badge referee, and I carry two cards. The yellow card is warning, and you know those of you who are soccer fans. I show you red card.
No, second yellow card.
There is no VAR here to review.
Second yellow card. Yeah,
Second yellow card is red.
Well, you don't need to call the red.
Okay, thank you. And there is no VAR that to do any ujuru. Adeyinka Adeyemi, Oga, on the instruction of Oga.
Yes, sir.
And I want you to start with your Nadeco days or your anti-Nadeco days.
Well, I don't think we need a camera.
I think so. He wants it switched
No,
off.
no, no. It's off.
Oh, okay.
You have the floor.
Thanks a lot. Maybe place to start, of course, we said it over and over again, is to thank the organizers of this program, or the initiators of this program. And of course, when I got a call out of the blues from Wale, I was wondering. Then he said, Ambassador Pata said he should get in touch with me. He knows I'm still with I first met Ambassador Pata through Ambassador Wale. That was in 1983 or 84. I've heard about him, but I haven't met him. Then he came to the ministry, and I was working with Ambassador Wale. So he came to see Ambassador Wale because they are close friends. So Ambassador Wale in the job, and I came to God and said, "This is Ambassador Pata. It's not with a K. Ambassador Pata."
It's great without K. Without K.
So that was my first encounter with Ambassador Pata. And of course, we've had quite a number of encounters since then. I can say that with Madame that they are really great family friends of mine and all the rest, especially for my daughter who studied medicine here in Atlanta. They got her first white coat and attended her first lecture. So I've been very close to him. And one of the things I just wanted to mention in terms of encounter and then also learning from our senior colleagues who really encouraged the Bible is, after, of course, working with him briefly in headquarters in Nairobi before I went to New York. Then we went to Jakarta, Vietnam.
Bandung.
Bandung, yes, Bandung. So, and because Nika mentioned Ikimi, that's why I thought I should chip in now, because Ikimi was the foreign minister. And that was his first outing then as foreign minister. He was very combative. He came really just spoiling for fight anyway. So, Ambassador Pata, of course, from IOB came, and I came from New York with Ambassador. So there was when the MPT review conference was ongoing. So Nigeria was, of course, playing a very important role. Ambassador Ayewa was chairing the working group of one of the committees. So we wanted to call for a meeting of the foreign ministers the next morning to deliberate on the issue. So they gave me the invitation cards, and I was told that the minister wanted us to come to the reception, where the dinner where the foreign ministers were, and hand over the cards to them. And I said, no, that's not done. We don't go and give invitation cards to ministers. First of all, even if you get it, they will look at you and then they will maybe promptly forget it there. What we do is that we'll go and place it in the desk, because we are going for a working group meeting that week. We'll go and give it to each of the desk officers there, so that they can take it, and because you cannot get it on the for a minister, to sit on it and then make sure it gets to them. So that was what I did. And I thought I've done the right thing, and I went to my hotel room, slept. Shola Onadipe was serving them in Ambassador Boluri in Jakarta. So he was witness to all of this. I didn't know there was so much commotion that night, because the minister was looking around the dinner table, he didn't see anybody. So afterwards he said, what happened? And then he was told that, well, the officer was given the card, but he said that he will not be went. What? This officer was dealt with. So I was on a contact chair, and he said, no, but that's not it. The officer has done the right thing. So when I got in the morning when we were having a pre-delegation meeting, so he was telling me, he said, this is what happened, but don't worry about it. I told because when they told him the officer is from New York, he said, talk to Ambassador Gambari, he said, oh, you know what to do.
Bring him back.
So that was a very surreal encounter for me. Of course, subsequently, anytime the minister came to New York, I was always hiding behind my bosses. Ambassador Ayewa and Ambassador Gambari. Any drafts, I just give it to them. I said, I don't want to be seen. But that was to have to be sure that you have senior colleagues who will stand up for you, who will make sure that they will say, yes, you've done the right thing. So you, at least, that's something we learned, and some of the things we also try to colleagues subsequently. And maybe later on, where I talk about my experience in the UN, I will be able to say how much preparation I had in the foreign service that prepared me for that. And perhaps go back to say how much the education we got in the greatest university in Africa. Yes.
You want to start a war?
Yes. Because I'm hearing you are here. The most beautiful campus in Africa, the greatest university in Africa. The education we had in Ife, and I think in my set, in 1987, we were the highest number that was included in that set. So I really, when you look back at the education we got that time on the cheap, the education we got then on the cheap, how it prepared us for, it's really sad to see that subsequently we will have to spend millions and millions to be able to train our kids. Well, but I think it's, when you look at that, when you think about it, you see that really we owe our country a lot in terms of what we were able to get at that time. Yeah. So that for me was always my, we were discussing yesterday with the chair, I said, when I was in New York, I always made sure that sitting behind that name, I must give it my best. I must make sure that I stand toe-to-toe with my colleagues to make sure that I really represent your country to the best. Sadly, standards are falling, and I hope maybe we can have some brainstorming in what we can do to help.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let me also give just he talked about Bandung in New York. Yes, Foreign Minister Kenny just assumed duty, and it was a couple, let's say about 2-3 months. And his first outing, as he said, I was in IOD, and I was billed to go to the NPT conference in New York. So I said, Minister, there are many competent officers in IOD. I'm going to this meeting in New York. Director of fund will go with you to Bandung, etc. He said, no, I have to. It's my first outing. You are going to come with me. You go to New York, and from New York, you're coming to Bandung. And I said, oh, Minister, that is, and that does not prevail. Anyway, fast forward, I was in New York, and both of us boarded this long 24-hour flight.
I'm telling you.
Singapore Airlines. It's traveling non-stop. And so it stopped in Amsterdam to refuel and went on straight to Singapore, boarded another flight for Jakarta, and then took a train now to Bandung.
Yeah.
And you can imagine, both of us, thank God we arrived a day early. We checked into our hotel. The meeting was starting the next day, not the day, really a day early. The minister was coming a day later because he loved to fly in one of the presidential jets. He didn't want to come in the commercial flight, and that was when it was available. So he came in, and his conduct throughout the meeting, thank also that Professor Gambari, he said, has been minister before, and he believed that the world owed him something in Bandung. So I had the responsibility and duty to, I said, Minister, this is what you're going to do here. And we got to the meeting. You remember, two of us were always awake. We were not dozing, Shola and myself. Every other person was dozing. So he looked at me and said, how come that only two of you are not dozing? And I said, Minister, you don't want to know. That was the answer. I was not going to explain anything further to him. So the rest is history. We can talk about him in a different, but that was not my first encounter with him. My first encounter was in Geneva, actually. That was where I met him for the first time. He was special advisor at that time. We had gone for Commission on Human Rights. And the resolution, the AU sponsored a resolution to condemn military takeover in Nigeria, annulling the election, etc., etc. And I was leading the official delegates, Commission for Human Rights, no minister then. And fortunately, the guys leading the charge from the EU are people I have known over time. We were in the World Conference on Human Rights together a few months earlier in Vienna. And I told one of them from Holland, I just said, you cannot, this resolution on Nigeria will not pass. So, withdraw it. We have agreed to a resolution being withdrawn. They came with the idea of a presidential assessment. I said, no way. This commission had never had a presidential statement in this history. So you're not going to start one on Nigeria. With your resolution, what I will concede to you, you have a right to make a statement in withdrawing that resolution. And I have a right to reply to that statement in withdrawing that resolution, or you cannot say you are issuing a presidential. They agreed on that, and the Kimi came banging the door that is representing. So EU then said, they are not withdrawing the resolution no more. And I looked at, I said, oh, you are not withdrawing the resolution. I will have that resolution defeated. And so I started a conversation, first of all, building Africa Group solidly behind Nigeria. Only one country was a rascal, saying no. And I just called the block, Mauritius. I said, if you want to bring the African solidarity, you are free. I'm not going to persuade you anymore. But fortunately, you remember him. The Algerian ambassador in Kinshasa was now in Geneva, Hussein. And he just said, "Sheikh, don't worry. Nobody will break African solidarity. I'm chair of the African group. Leave it in my hand." So on the day of, then the night before, in the late night session, I'm sorry to delay, but this is significant. At 1 a.m., a procedural resolution was against China, was lost for the first time in the Commission for Human Rights, condemning human rights violation in Russia, in China. The Chinese always deflated it by saying no action should be taken on this resolution. But that night, they lost. So everybody was in panic around 1 a.m. So I went, a number of African countries posted against them, including my own country, Guinea-Bissau. So I went to Guinea. I said, well, the Chinese are supporting Senegal against them in time of Casamance. I said, you are very trusted. Fast forward, it came to a resolution they were voting. Britain was leading the charge. So I sent a short note. I said they should be given to the British ambassador. I said, you are not withdrawing this, I'm going to have you defeated. So it came to a resolution. And that morning, before I came to the hall, we were staying in the residence of the Nigerian ambassador in Geneva. In that, there was no ambassador at that time. Ambassador Azike had left. So it was a Shaje, Fasil. I was staying in the residence with Ambassador Atta, who had come for another meeting, Ambassador Hamzat Amadou. So at 5 a.m. I woke up that morning. And I was writing what I was going to say. So I now said, Ambassador Atta came down. I said, Sheikh, we are so early today. Well, I said, I'm just thinking and putting my thoughts together. I said, what are you going to say? And I said, told her. She jumped up. She was so happy. So I in the hall, and I said, well, after the table, I said, well, Nigeria is accused of alleging human rights resolution, this. I said, well, as you point the finger, some of you are pointing it against yourself. I said, there's a country where the voice of some of their national cannot be heard on radio, and their faces can be obscured on television. They know themselves, and they are the prime movers of this resolution. I sent a note to the British ambassador, said, I'm defeating it. So he looked back at me. Fast forward, the resolution was tabled, and it was defeated. Ikimi, who had wanted to be dancing the horse, so I said, no. Quickly, please, you don't do that here in Valencia. Don't do that. Anyway, he got up and called Abuja that he has defeated the resolution. Ambassador Madu was very upset, and I said, okay, no, but he has defeated it, so why do you have to take credit? I said, secrecy is a function of time and space. I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Well, yes, you have the privilege of sitting beside the big boss. Thank you. You have the floor.
Well, I'm just going to...
You don't want to sit? Yes, sure, this is your choice.
You want to come in?
No, it's okay. I think I can rely on the text.
Okay.
Yes. My first intervention will be child as clash of cultures. And I just want us, Nigerian foreign, I will still consider myself foreign service officer. I think it's another time that we have to take note of these cultural differences while we're serving government. Let me make a reference to His Excellency Ambassador, but I still give him credit for building confidence and giving us all the tools that we need to be effective and efficient foreign service officers. So, I was serving in Kinshasa, and I repeat, I was a bachelor. earning $731. My good friend in my second year is earning double on FSC. The same grade, doing the same job, in fact, doing more than what he's doing, because I was double with the head of transmit job. At that time, I think we were free. What we were forbidden to do is to marry foreigners, but we have friends. So I happened to befriend the daughter of the Central Bank Governor of Congo, Kinshasa. That was the era of Mobutu. Yeah. So, and then of course I was riding a very somehow nice car that it was one in town. So that was my entry, because you can't go near even the residence of the governor. I got clearance. And His Excellency had a mentioning a VVIP guest who was there to sort audience with Mobutu Sese Seko, and we were being played. Mobutu is here, he's there, and everything. So I capitalized on this relationship, and the lady got me information which I asked her. Please give me ticket also, take one check from His Excellency. Then also we're entertaining, quality entertainment. I think the high quality officers of the government attend most of my parties or the parties we have. One time, because of course Her Excellency is always in consideration, we don't invite our head of mission. This is our own. The first time, yes, we invited His Excellency, and he saw the quality of the gathering, and the next morning he gave us a blank check for us to entertain. Any entertainment that we're hosting, I or Hadri, is paid by the mission. This is where we had the confidence, and we knew, and I, as head of transfer, went deep into reading what is hospitality, accountable and non-accountable. So with this background, took me to the next post, which was Bonn, and I met a head of mission. At that time, that is the Nadoko days. This head of mission did not recognize culture. My wife, you were making reference, Badria, named Mama Garba. Her father is still the first and I think the last civilian registrar of NTA. He's been a registrar with Edinburgh University, and of course, he retired. So his own peer group and friends were then the ministers in Abacha's government, namely the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Works, and there's a third one. Yeah, about three. And we were serving in Bonn. Wiesbaden and Bonn, you know, you always come to Frankfurt. You can't go to any other European countries except Germany. So we were actually holding this responsibility of these ministers. They're first government ministers, but they come there individually from the airport. Whoever go to the airport to receive them, the first house they ask is for Badria's house. See, the ministers will come straight to the house, we will entertain them, we do everything, and they come with food, because most of their wives, they know Badria, they know, I am from inside the city. So my father, and in fact my family, I think I'm the first one to even go beyond secondary school, talk less of working with government. So because of her, I have to entertain these people. The minister at that time, we're looking for Minister of Works to give us approval to sell the property in Bonn. The Minister of Finance also is in charge. And the ambassador at that time really is in demand. I do everything to take them to the place. They would just tell me, look, we're here in a private capacity, or we're this and that. But whatever problem the mission has, we get approval for them. So now the ambassador called me, and I think that is where we had problems. He said, look, all the entertainments we're doing, everything, send the bill, I'm going to pay you. So I started thinking, look, our own culture. What happens if these people get to know that the food, the milk I give them, the kunu, and they bring some of this ingredient, they brought them, you know, to give us. And I just said, look, how would they feel that I will not send bill, or the minister or the mission will be paying me entertainment allowance for entertaining ministers and everything in my own private? So it became a serious issue. I didn't say no, I didn't say yes, but I didn't comply. That is the offense I committed in foreign service for the first time. found me, in fact,
Query.
we didn't even have query. No, it was straight recall. Because yes, it was straight recall. And that time, my wife was put to bed, my second child. Believe me, he followed me with a telegram at the hospital. I was in front of our own room when I was given that recall telegram. Then I made a mistake of turning. I think that was the day you were supposed to be discharged. I turned around and she said, well, she could see everything, of course. You know, what is this? I just mentioned, and she had blackout.
Oh.
And my mother, who came to receive the second child, was also in the same hospital. And here, I'm facing my wife, and my mother is crying that she brought me bad luck. So this is not. And now I had to explain to the head of nation that in our culture we don't do. We entertain independent without any thought. But the guy refused to understand that and turned the whole thing to the point that it was even on the, I think on the eve of the handing over of this 29 May, because she delivered on 29 May, the day Obasanjo was taken over. We were in front of the TV, in front of the hospital room, when she delivered my second child. You know, so now the same minister signed my recall without resort to admin department. No query, no anything, but the minister just said recall the officer. On the 28th of May, when he was handed over from that, and up to today, as I speak to you, not a single query, but the case was forwarded to the senior staff meeting. In fact, various civil service had to penalize the ministry for my recall and everything. And I met the PAMSEC at that time, who told me to go back. And I told him, yes, I'm back with my family, and I'm not going back to the mission. So this is just one thing. What made me do this is simply because we have this, and we know what we're doing, we know the rules and regulations, we're ready to follow, but people are ready to use their power. I'll stop at this.
I asked you to go back. Thank you, Baba Garba. BG, for calling that in, because it's an incident. I know you were pointing at me, but it's an incident I'm very much aware of. And, it's part of growing up. I'm looking around the table. I need more, but I don't want to put anyone on the spot.
Don't forget that table there.
No, not forgetting. Yes, Excellency has volunteered. Bravo,
yeah.
bravo.
Excellencies,
Caracas.
respect, good morning again.
I don't know which one is talking about.
Let me just say that what we have started here, led by our ever-evolving glory here, Dakota and the rest of it, is something that will go up in the history of foreign service, whether those serving retired. I say this because throughout the period our ambassadors, unless before we joined the service, we've never had this kind of debriefing, even at the official level. I'm aware that with the exception of the National Intelligence Agency, not only do they bring their officers at all levels and when they finish, but in the foreign service, we've not done it. To that extent, I say again, congratulations. My history with the foreign service, I still give it to my dear father, blessed memory, because I recall his frequent tales about his encounters during the Second World War in India, in Burma, and I ended my service with being concurrently accredited to Burma, now Myanmar, but that was the second part of my history. Anyway, in the university, first degree, political science, public admin, international relations. I grabbed international relations with both hands because I needed to see what my father was talking about. So from there, we went for our youth service. Oyo State, I was there, Daily Sketch, editorial board, Chief Shebo Shoba, nostalgia, but we were there and others, and so on. Finish, back to Lagos. One Sunday, somebody said, we saw you in Sunday Times, Foreign Affairs. I said, it's for what? Because I never applied for the university. But it occurred to me, now third year, there was an interview. Still remember people from the Civil Service Commission, Foreign Affairs, the panel. I remember the government, Ambassador Eko, was on that panel. After the interview, he called me and said, where are you from? He said, you will come to Foreign Affairs. I said, okay, sir. But when I now saw that publication, I remembered Foreign Affairs. Fast forward, we reported, not quite any long period or so, fire got it in the ministry. I found myself in a Wolowo NEPA building, in Ikoyi there, some officers were sent there. And we were there, chips on our shoulders, first Autonomous University in Nigeria, Osoka, this Brazilian University in
Everybody knows.
We had great officers, the Balogu was our dressing so because people came from the diaspora with PhD, they said, listen, this is foreign affairs. Pocket your degrees and local Ivy League, put it in right, output, quality is what I don't want to hear soccer or in this case. That was the period we made the likes of as if we were and so on. Well, going forward, we became the first pioneer, if you like, of the Foreign Service Academy. That was where under the tutelage of Ambassador Marshall, we met the successors to the 12 apostles in the foreign ministry, the general shows, the Dr. Edwin, the Nigio, the Semeka, these great ambassadors, Shano, and so on. They lectured us. That was how we tried to get the real listing of the foreign service. Then to our postings. I was in Trinidad and Tobago first. I met the great picture of President Bazayo Ajake, who took me all through, about the foreign service. Some may have views about it, but when it comes to service delivery, he did it above self. Great pictures. As a first posting, which I had, dispatch writing, I remember him telling me, officer, that was when maybe my Ogari was but the first thing he said, when you see dispatches from names, make sure you do it. That was when I had, before I even met Ogari at other levels and so on. Anyway, he was able to do a lot in Trinidad and Tobago. That was the first place I noticed being, if you want to be glad it was in Anambra, because he told not just Trinidad and Tobago, other Caribbean governments, there were 5 who were credited to the sacrifices of Nigeria about South Africa and tripartite struggle, what we did for them. And the blacks, the way they respect us throughout the Caribbean. Anyway, they played cricket with Trinidad and Tobago, South Africa. They summoned him to the foreign service. He said, fire, let's go. I know they want to send me home. Anyway, he was able to tell the minister face to face that he was ready to go. You know him when he believes in something. At the end of the day, they asked him to stay. There was real baptism of fire, but he did his work so well. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, I have to say this here because they gave us the first steel bag, Nigeria and Danjuma. That's where we got it from. But because we had because we had iron and steel industry, petroleum, they also had their own is still functional today and has helped to transform Trinidad and Tobago. So let me say again, I was able to, in Malaysia, the same thing we all know about Malaysia, Nigeria, what we've been able to do. On under Mahathir Mohamad, the kind of regard they placed on Nigeria, you will not believe. Each state you go to, out of those 13 states, you will think we are in our various states. And the reason when we went there were about only 15 Nigerians. 1991 open division with Ambassador Nwaju. But today we have more than 25,000. You will know better, the ambassador to Malaysia, Jane, this year. Anyway, my point is that we started Vision 2020 with Malaysia, the same period. Today, Malaysia is already an upper middle income economy, giving eggs and other things to our people. Many of our children are also in Malaysia for education. But other things are happening there, which will be part of part two. Why am I saying this? Those Southeast Asian countries that have transformed where they are today, we are looking up to Nigeria. Between 1960 to 1965, these were countries from Thailand to Singapore itself and so on. But the difference we know is clear between us. During part two, I will have a lot to say, but let me just end this by saying I ended in Thailand as an ambassador. What I saw in Thailand when it comes to moving from just agriculture to industry, because the same products we have, Thailand, they have it, but they have transformed them in such a way that today you won't believe what they are making for their people, and they have overcome the poverty gap and the transformation. So today when in the US, I also worked here, nobody needs to tell any of us about the United States. But the city where we are is just enough, the airport through which we are here owned by a local government, city council. That's what, and before 1996, nobody knew much about Atlanta. But look around today, I say 1996 because that was the period of the Cardinal Plan Group, our junior listing. After that, this is the story. This is my part one. That will continue.
Yes, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to divide my speech into two parts.
Good.
This particular, I'll be short. The first part, Baba Garba said something about culture. And I think some of the problems in Nigeria is also cultural. And, but we don't take culture seriously. In fact, culture of the people. If we look at it critically, part of our problem in Nigeria is the cultural background. Though in Africa, we tend to paper over the importance of culture. Let me just use an example. Why presidents don't want to leave office in Africa, in third world countries, is because before the white people came, there was no presidential democratic system. What they had were kings. And the king dies in office. And no king will appoint a successor in his lifetime. Yes. And this came out when Ufo Boye was around 98, 99. He kept hiding his age. I remember 1994, I was listening to Focus on Africa on radio, which I had to do because I was in charge of West Africa. And they asked him, sir, you sit for 6 months, go to France, and then come back to Ivory Coast. Why don't you choose a successor? And he said something, he said, a Bole man who comes from Bole village does not know his successor, a Bole chief rather, does not know his successor in his lifetime. And I thought, I was level 15, and I said, these people are stupid, these white people. What's their problem? If he dies somebody, but as it turned out when he died, because he didn't put his succession, or he deliberately created confusion, because the National Assembly president was in the constitution to take over. But then he chose Ouattara as the prime minister. And he didn't say which one would take over. And of course, the French came, supported Bede, the national president. But let me start with Ambassador Akpata. You see, this meeting, of course, Ambassador Akpata is trying to say that it's Mayegu and the other guys that are in charge. No, they are using, if not for your name, your personality, your position, and your disposition towards us, very few ambassadors can summon this type of meeting and people will attend. But you have distinguished yourself the way you relate to everybody, both senior and junior. And I'll just say a short story. I was in Zimbabwe 1985 to 88, and you came with either General Nwachukwu or Akim. I can't remember which one of them. Yes. You were in PPD at that time, and PPD in the ministry at that time was a think tank. And was George, all the others were there, Oseni and Co. So you wrote a memo. I can't remember what, I was head of chancery. So you now gave me the memo, said, like, read this thing and see if you can add anything. And I was shocked. How can the head of a tank in the ministry, I was nobody, just, I said, this man is trying to, not disgrace, but trying to look for something. How can I be adding or correcting ambassador? I read it, but I didn't add anything. I just gave it back. But it taught me a lesson that it shows his humility, because intellectually brilliant people are very pompous most of the time, because they think they know more than everybody. So for him to calm down, and that thing remained with me for a very long time. So till today, when I write things, I pass it to anybody I know who add value, even if what they are adding is removing it. So sir, don't let me take too much time. That is because of you, and you have laid that example. And it's not easy. I think it's part genetic, it's part background, it's part a lot of things. Some of this you cannot learn. In the foreign ministry setting, there are two other ambassadors I've worked with. You have that Ambassador Chinade, I worked with him in Moscow, and Ambassador Sonny Bello, the father of the governor, of very outstanding people in different ways. Maybe the second part, I will come to that. But let me go to the ministry part and the cultural part. I was SADG2, Ambassador Lumoko was SADG1 under Ambassador Atta, Miss Judith Atta. So I was in charge of passports and security. So we're issuing diplomatic passport. Well, there was a quarrel or struggle really between internal affairs and us. And we agreed that internal affairs, if they issue diplomatic passport to anybody, they will write there's a reference number, and who will know that they can only renew it, we will not renew it for them. Because ideally, we are supposed to only issue diplomatic passport to foreign service officers. And Babangida had given me a lot of circular that he wants to give diplomatic passport to a lot of important Nigerians who are working in the UN, but number 1 or number 2 position. And that created a problem for us, but we were able to handle it. So number 1 problem that I had was that a lot of people, especially from the Southeast, who are close to Nwachukwu, will just write, they may be number 10 in their office, that in this office I need diplomatic passport. And in fairness to Nwachukwu will pass it to Ambassador Atta, the PAMSEC. Ambassador Atta will just send it to us. Please examine it. So what we did, since we have, every mission we have contact there, we will phone to that mission, so and so doctor or man, please find out whether it's number 1, number 2 in his mission, and then let us know the list of officers. And within 2 or 3 days, we'll get answer, either on phone or, because we have direct line, what they call IDD or something. So, and they will tell us, yes, oh no, he's telling lies. And I will just write, this is the situation. If you give to this man, there are 2 or 3 Nigerians above him, and this will create problems. And in fairness to General Nwachukwu, he will not come back. Okay, he had a military background, so maybe the discipline was there. He will not say anything. I never got a memo back to say, no, usually I'm the minister. But if he had said that, I don't know what the pamphlet would say, but it would be difficult for me. But we have another minister, I will not mention the minister's name, but that's why some of the things you are saying are confidential. Because even if he's dead, I will not still mention it. So in his own case, the ministers are under pressure, so they bring passports to him, some of his friends and colleagues. And he would not send it to the PAMSEC, he would send it directly to my office. And unfortunately for me, it doesn't really matter whether I was around, but I had 2 officers, my assistant, and they would just look at the rules and they would say, no, take it to immigration, because immigration issued those diplomatic passports originally, and that is our rule. And then the Minister of State would just respond, I will dismiss all of you. And the officers will say, and who is in charge of that place? And they say, Lasende. I was level 12. I said, who is Lasende? Me, Minister, I'm sending something to you. And then you say, what I'm saying is cultural. I will tell you what I'm saying is cultural. So when I came, the 2 officers who were working with me, actually from the north, one from the south, one from the north, said, sir, the minister said he will dismiss us. I said, don't worry. As far as I know, you cannot dismiss any foreign service officer unless you send the case to Civil Service Commission. And then Civil Service Commission is quite reasonable, but I didn't bother. But my luck was that anytime I was going to Babbage Towers and I go to the car park, I was given a senior of mine, slightly higher than me, from Kano, lift, and then we converse, foreign service officer. I will tell her, this minister is giving us. He advised me differently. He said, our people, that's the way he put it. He said that they feel like a big man. Yeah, I'm following rules, and that the rules I'm following, that is not there. It's not a cultural thing for that. I should collect the passport, go to immigration, go and renew it, and then give it to him. I told him, it's only one great senior to me. He joined I joined 76, he joined 74. I said, no, I can't do that. And this is the culture. The way we are trained in the South, I came from university. Once you have BSc, you think you are somebody. I said, and my work was a lot of work. I had officers, but some of the decisions they cannot take. So I will work from morning till 6, 7, and I cannot go before Ambassador at the PAMSEC. So I said, no, sir, I don't have time to be going to queue in the Ministry of Immigration. That Nwachukwu is the main minister, doesn't do that. So we kept arguing among us, but that argument saved my career, and I will tell you why. So one of the things that happened was that a particular case came. There was an ambassador. I won't also mention the name of the ambassador, who had 2 wives. And he wanted diplomatic passport for the 2 wives. So what he did, he came to the PAMSEC and said, look, I have 2 wives, and one of the wives was Shagari's daughter. So what he did was to get diplomatic passport for the one who was not Shagari's daughter and present Shagari's daughter as the second one. So the PAMSEC, they said, how the PAMSEC was, oh God, choose one of them. Foreign affairs, you cannot have 2 diplomatic passports. You have to take one. But the man went back to immigration, got diplomatic passport for the second wife, the Shagari's daughter. Fine, we are not issuing it. So whether a group, the nation, most countries will not accept 2 wives with diplomatic passport. So this man now sent the passport of Shagari's daughter for renewal, and we saw the immigration issued it. And my officer, I was not, unfortunately for me, I was also traveling. So they said, please take it back. They told the minister's security or aid, take it to immigration, and normally the minister could have done that just with a note, but the minister just sent word back that I'm going to dismiss all of you. So anyway, so when this case, then there was a change in the headship of the ministry. They removed Ms. Atta, and Ambassador Semeka became PAMSEC. And I was in Canada and America trying to renew diplomatic passport, because we were allowed to do that at that time. There was no electronic. So by then I came back, Ambassador Semeka was looking for me, said, yes, I know there's SADG2. I don't know what you're doing there. So he thought maybe I ran away, I was supporting, which was not true. Because he had moved, he stayed in Abuja, we were in Lagos. but we're trying to also relocate. So, when I sat in front of Ambassador Semeka, I was trying to brief him about my work. For 2 hours, I couldn't get up to 5 minutes because a lot of ambassadors were calling, congratulating him. So after some time, I said, look, what is your problem in your office? I want to solve all your problems. So I said, initially I said there was no problem. Then I remember the minister's headache. So I told him that, but the Minister of State, who was still there, I said, he's always threatening to dismiss our officers. I said, I don't know whether you can tell him that we're just doing our work. And in fairness to Mr. Emeka, he told me to write 2 memos, our work really, and then one in the problem that we're having. And I wrote the 2 memos and I sent it to him. And what Mr. Emeka wrote below my memo was that, Honorable Minister, I would like us to have a set of rules and officers are doing different things. I suggest you choose one officer from your office, one officer from protocol, and one officer from my own office. Let the 3 of them sit and look at all the problems and have a set of rules agreeable to everybody which you follow. Okay, this is the problem with the ministry. As soon as the minister got the file, he was annoyed. Another thing about Ambassador Semeka, when he writes, it would be blunt. It wasn't. But the minister saw that I was the one that wrote the memo. So he didn't know me. So he sent officers to go and investigate me to find out I don't know why he did that. But those officers came back to me to say, sir, we're a quiet officer, you do your job. We know that you are not, but this is what we asked you. I said, it's not my business. But what the minister did was to write a memo to my boss who was in the villa. And the title was Character Assassination. And he started by 1.5 pages to say that I've been a public servant, nobody has accused me, but this officer has damaged my name. And he concluded that this officer should be removed from service. It's not fit. But luckily for me, that argument I was having with my friend Balasani from Kano. He was in the committee that was now, they were not investigating really, they just wanted to discuss it before writing the memo to my boss. So Balasani said, don't discuss this issue, I know all the details. Balasani is just doing his job, but he's very strict and rigid. It's not flexible, and he supported me. And this is why when people say in the ministry officers, some of the best officers I've worked with are not from my area. And then so the head, the ambassador was head of the committee. He showed me the memo he wrote back to the DG at that time. He said that this is one of our best officers. He's just doing his job. However, to pacify it, he didn't use the word pacify, he used, we will remove him from SADG2 and bring another officer. Because they thought I was not flexible, but it's a cultural thing. I told you where my culture was coming from. Once nobody helped you, I didn't know anybody. So my own is that as I'm looking at the job, the ministers are we so help them, they also have to do the job, but it's seen as rudeness. Now, if I were to hold that position, I wouldn't do what I did. That is my own, I may be wrong, but that is my, if you are, I want to look at where I'm going to, not all these small, these are small distractions. I will take the passport, I will tell Your Excellency, who even like me, will see me as a good boy. So this is what, the second part of my briefing, or my, not briefing, my reminiscence is how I joined the foreign ministry. It's peculiar. Me, I didn't even know what was Minister of Foreign. I was in the University of Lagos. Then at the final year, they will give you a form to fill. Yeah. And on that form, there were 3 positions: custom, admin, and they call career diplomas or career something. They was career diploma. I lost all the career. I didn't understand anything. And I said custom because of uniform. I didn't want to. to enter. If I'd known there was money in custom, maybe I would have gone. And then the admin, no, I saw myself as a graduate. What do I go do admin? But my problem was that I wanted to be a lecturer in the university. I wanted to have PhD, and that was my listen. And I finished from University of Lagos. I read psychology. Actually, I wanted to read medicine from Christ School. I didn't get it. My boss there, Ambassador Okun Ayodeji, was my senior in Christ School. And Christ School was very good. And I had grade 1, so I was a science student. But Christ School had a principle: if you don't, the lab can only take 30 people: chemistry lab, physics lab, biology lab. And I was cut off. I was number 33 on the physics list. I didn't know they were watching people. They were, all your marks from Form 1 up to Form 3. So they didn't give me physics. And I could see that some of those who were given physics, I was far, far better in other subjects, but not in that physics. And I didn't know physics was also necessary to read medicine. So a lot of things I didn't know. Anyway, I left Christ School. I had grade 1, but I didn't do physics. And without physics, you can't read medicine. So that's why, so all the time I was moving on, my mind was still in that medicine. Anyway, when I finished in Unilag, I read, so before Unilag, HSC, I just thought, this physics, let me do it. People are doing GC. I didn't like GC. I thought it was a second-rate path. This is my feeling, that why was the thing at our time?
Yes.
So I took Nelson and Nelson and Parker. I sat down with my Form 3. I passed physics C. And I said, if I had known, I would have done it since. But anyway, so when I finished my first degree, something just told me, this physics that I have now, let me just pass everything to Unilag to look and see whether I can read medicine. I was young, I finished university at 23. So Unilag took me for medicine, because the physics had done and had a degree. But not a mistake. I also, in the north, the army, the military was, so I wanted to join the Air Force as a sentence. So I sent the Air Force from everything to my parents. My parents seized the Air Force and everything from, they didn't release it. So the only thing they told me was that I've been admitted to read medicine in Loop. And they paid the money, they didn't even wait for me, you know. So I was driving one day in Lagos and I saw Odi Ofemo, who was my classmate. I mean, we did youth service together. And he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just cruising around, I don't have any job. He said, okay, go to Civil Service Commission. They've taken everybody that did the interview. Go and do 2 years, wherever they post you. And then whatever you want to do later. So I went to the Civil Service Commission. I couldn't remember really what I feel. So I gave them my name. And then they said, yeah, last Sunday you are in the foreign ministry. I said, okay, let me go and collect 2 months salary and then go to So when I got to the ministry, I now saw my classmates in Unilag, Willoughby, Osayomi, late now, and Ojeriola, a lot of my. So I looked at them, but I told them, I'm not going to stay with you. I'm going to go to Lut to go and see. So I should have kept quiet, but you know, when you are young, I didn't steal anybody's money, I didn't offend anybody. That's my life. So, but unfortunately for me, or maybe fortunate, I can't say, only life, you know, but that's my story. 2 of my very close friends, one Sheyima Bogunje and one Shola Labi, who was with NMPC, they kept telling me, don't go and read medicine. Why do you want to read medicine? Is it because you want to be called doctor? This foreign affairs as good as medicine. If you ask me, I don't think so, personally, but I didn't know at that time. They kept, in fact, they brought one doctor who convinced me that medicine is not like before in Nigeria. If you don't have postgraduate training, I said, okay, because I studied psychology, I wanted to do psychiatry. I said, after psychiatry, 6 years. How many years before I become a psychiatrist? They said another 5 years. Okay, 11 years. I'm 35. I said, no, you know, but at the end of the day, my mother was on my neck. Being a nurse, she was on my neck. She took me, she came down from Malaysia, took me around many professors of medicine. And so I was, anyway, after 2 months in foreign affairs, I resigned. I put the resignation in my file. And but unfortunately for me, because I was a bit, I didn't want to, I want to work for foreign affairs, so the last day, I don't want to, I could have left a day with, nobody was marking it, but I said no. The last day I will work and then leave. So by the time I got to look, all my load was behind my car. By the time I got to look, they had already closed just to give me accommodation, and that's why I missed. So when I was going home, somebody said, biochemistry class, there are people there, that is your class, why don't you go and join? I entered the biochemistry lab with my suit from Foreign Affairs. I saw a lot of people with white coats. And I was far behind. There were about 200 people in the lab. I didn't hear what the lecturer was saying. And I just looked, and I was downcast. I've never been, I won't call it depression, but I was just confused. So I said that 11 years again after I said, am I really? And I have one thing, I'm not that religious, but I believe that sometimes God has a hand where you go to. And I feel that once something is difficult for me, and I'm pursuing it, that means God doesn't want me to do it. So that's how I just decided that I'm not going to read medicine. I didn't go back. I just went to foreign ministry. I looked for my file. Nobody wrote anything on it. Because I was still disciplined. So the friend told me, why are you wasting time? You don't collect the file. I just removed my Thank you.
And I read it copiously. Sometimes I don't have anything, I'll go back to the surface, I have nothing to. Sometimes we argue over certain paragraphs. I will tell you what you put here is not correct, and for this reason, go and verify it from your source. We'll have this robust debate, and he will check. He will come back and say, oh, you're right about this, or you're wrong. This is the way it happened. And you see some of my, and that is not limited to my ambassador. Some of you have witnessed my robust exchange with a president, and that is a story for another day in New York. If somebody is smiling, I hold my ground, and I'll say, Mr. President, what you're going to do, you don't do it by this building, by this East River. I know that building very well. It's not me cocky. You do it, this and the outcome. Oh, he will say, I'm going to do it. I've said my mind. He goes in, and he starts the meeting, and exactly the outcome which I predicted will be the outcome. Everybody will be looking. And one of the ministers came to me one day, you don't talk to the president like this. And I said, you see, God is infallible. Exactly. Is he infallible? He knows the minister I'm talking about. That's it. And let me introduce somebody who has joined us. He's not, he's from Esefe. I prefer to call him by his first name. He's from Stanbic. He will be the one who will be telling us whether we have some dormant assets that might have some inherent value that we can spend or etc. I'm not making his presentation on his behalf. He's been with us. He came all the way from Lagos. He's sitting on a gold. Oh, is it gold or diamond? Both. Or a vault of tangible and intangible assets,
including all your retirement money.
Aha. So, well, you're welcome to our group. And through, I have the voice of everybody here to say, please convey our gratitude to your CEO for allowing you to be with us.
Well, let me thank Ambassador Basenji.
Yes.
He actually filled a blank for me
Oh, which
because of his conversation.
Oh, sorry. Is that why you married a doctor in the end?
No. That is not a blank. That's not a blank, sir. That's not a blank, sir. Excellency, before you go, sir.
No, I'm not going anywhere. Where is Moto? Where is she done with us?
She's in the room, she said,
She's walking.
See, sir, I always, he's from Oyo State. Sorry, he's from Osun State.
Yeah, you are.
No, sorry, sir. He's from Osun State. But I've always wondered why sometimes he can be inflexible. The only people we think are always sticking to the rules are Ondo and those Ekiti people.
Yes.
So even though he said it's cultural, it's not even, it's your people.
But I will explain that to you.
Now he said he went to Christ school.
You know where.
So now if
a combination.
That
What are you saying?
this Osun man got that cultural something from Christ school.
No, you are a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
There's a Jesha Agidi.
Yes.
It's not the Jesha.
It's a combination of two.
I wanted to pull his legs, sir.
But I have to say you.
Thank you very much. It's quite appreciated. Now I'm turning to the Caracas man. You are the last to speak before we go on break, and you are going to talk for the next 30 minutes. Not Anti-Jane again. Anti-Jane will come on after break.
Excellency.
Thank
you, sir.
You have the floor.
I'm still
Adeyemi Olaiwola Kaori. That's the AOK.
Thank you. Excellencies, dear madams. For me, I just want to start by saying that I want to put it on the table that I was a beneficiary of incredible kindness and grace in the Foreign Service. I mentioned our guys, Ambassador Wani, Ambassador Lumoko, Ambassador Pata, Ambassador Pedro, but I forgot to mention Ambassador Lasende. And I'm linking it to the fact that when I was going to join the Foreign Service, I like the Foreign Service, so I was still thinking about careers. So one day my father came, he was at a campus, he was working there. He said, I was my senior brother also. He said, guys, so you think after you finish, you're going to sit in this house? What jobs are you looking for? Then we started hanging on. He said, anyway, there's one interview panel coming tomorrow, Federal Civil Service Commission. Go and get the forms and fill. So when I was filling this form, I said, what to do now? Ambassador Jiwe had come to give a lecture. It sounded very nice, But then I remember that after last thing, he was driving one nice BMW when he came for his masters. I said that would be a good life.
He and his friend, they love BMW.
So, and then late Kola Owuru had graduated from Ife, but he used to come in this Mercedes Benz. Young people are driving this kind of car. So anyway, so I went for the interview. And what I like about today is that so many people who have impacted Postibor have been mentioned in various ways. Ambassador Koroye was on my interview panel, for instance. I worked with Ambassador Okogo, who had been mentioned. Shola Nkonaye was with me at Addis Ababa. But also late T.A. Jimo. When I joined the foreign minister after a long time. They did the interview in university. So it was from youth corps that we went and joined the foreign ministry. But so I was in this room with this gentleman called Ambassador T.A. Jimo. Interesting man, brilliant man, Casey guy. So he would come, I would come to the office very early as a young officer. I was there by 7:15. There was always this jacket hung on the wall.
Yeah, right.
This one guy. So early, you come hang the jacket and go for breakfast before coming. Then it took me a while to know that Mr. Timo left the jacket the night before. So that at the time,
You can't again.
everybody did that.
Sorry.
At the beginning, I just thanked all of you who have been incredibly kind and gracious to me in the Foreign Service. Now, guys, I mentioned yesterday. Then I mentioned Ambassador Lasseini, who I didn't mention yesterday, but who actually was one of those who made me join the Foreign Service. Because he had this nice BMW we were driving with the campus. And I said, that would be a good life. So I was now saying, when I joined the service, after I did the interview, Ambassador Koroye had served on the panel. But when I now started, I was in ICD. So they put me in an office, one small desk, and then there was a bigger desk. The bigger desk was late TAA June. So when I got in there, he was coming around 10. But I thought he was going for breakfast because his jacket was always on the wall there. So I said, this one guy, always early. It took me a while to discover that TAA would hang his jacket at night. And then the following morning he was strolling in. But you know, when I talk about incredible grace and kindness, there were 3 elderly men. What we all want to say, brand B, I don't see those things. They were elderly, they were, from an ethnic group, so I was very polite to them. They looked after me. And Ladepo, Ladega, and Mr. Leone.
Yes.
So one day I was prancing around, then Mr. Ladega called me and said, have you done civil service exam? Exam. The other one. Go and get it. Go and register. He saved us. Shola and myself. Those of us who did that exam early, when the time came for confirmation, they dropped the other one. Yes. Who never recovered till the end.
Till the end, yes.
Just from that, that little act of kindness, there was no book to tell you are entitled to clothing allowance. It was them that said, I'm taking your clothing allowance. I said, go and do this. But nowhere, there was no bedroom. So it was those gentlemen that helped us through that thing. And then, of course, I got posted to Caracas, where Awani was my boss. And one of the stories I want to tell about that, before I got to Caracas, very incredible service. We used to have what they call, what's that thing, that duty officer that you do in the OCD, we are going. So one evening I went OCD, I did my job, so you are allowed the following day off. I took the following day off. The following day was when the Republic building got bought. So I could easily have been in that building that day. Because attendance was to be up there, dealing with the telegrams. Anyway, got posted. So, time to go attachment. So everybody knew where they were going. So someone sent me to Mr. Oduwole, or Duyemi, who was councillor staff, to go and find my posting. So I went to him and I said, okay. I'm going to New York. I could hardly hide my excitement. I held on to it. Circular come out, no. And circular come out, no. Then a day before, I saw my colleague out of Baka, who was working one of the ministers. I said, how far now? Yeah, not bad, but okay, not bad. Not bad. Anyway, following day I was doing some work. So Ambassador Latido, we sent him to go and check. He said, circular was happening. He came. So we were sitting in, after the fire, Nepa, long thing. So I was sitting in one corner.
We used to call it banking hall.
So I was sitting in one corner. Tito went to go and check our posting. Tito came, then he went like that. Round like that. Went round like that. Man, come and give me good news. So he came. He said, yeah. When he was not bad. I said, what is not bad? He said, I'm going to Caracas. Which one is that one? New York to Caracas. What kind of service? Still America. Anyway, I found out the story later, but for another day. I got to Caracas, fantastic. But the come, well, the nation by the last 1 year, so I had a chance to. But the story, which I want to end, because I will talk about other things later, was that one day I now bought this machine bench to fulfill that. I bought this machine. Cruising one day. No, the BMW was Benz. Anyway, I was pushing my best one day. Got to a traffic light and stopped. Next thing I had was him. Wow!
From behind.
Ran into him from behind. You know. So the car had an accident anyway. The painful part was the car, the idea was to send it. You know. But anyway, that's not the story. The story really for me was that the guy who hit me now came to the chancery the following day. And I managed to see Ambassador Awani. I said he was looking, he wanted to apologize to the ambassador because he hit the ambassador's car.
You know that everybody
Oga said the ambassador's car. He said, that man you saw driving that car is the owner. Better go and beg him. Because I was black, I was young, and I was 23, 24. In a society most of us don't know, I used to describe it as South Africa without the laws.
Yeah.
They were racist. So you just imagine one small 23-year-old boy driving the city. He must be the ambassador's driver. And the guy sent him and said, no, send the ambassador. Go and apologize to him. But the story for me was that was the last time I could afford a Mercedes Benz. I'll leave the rest for another day. That's my shot. Later when I moved to other missions, I will tell you about it.
Your battle. That was fast. I thought we were getting ready to go for the break. Auntie Jane, we have to go.
No, Jane, it's your turn now.
It's your turn now.
Don't Jane.
But thank you very much, Ambassador Duperu, because you also provided me another insight that Ambassador Lasendi and his good friend, Ambassador Kari Garrick, they both love BMW. And they always, now I remember they always buy the same car. Most of the time. I go closer.
No.
Now I make the connection. Thank you.
Okay.
Auntie Jane.
Good afternoon, Excellencies, Madam.
I'll start with how I joined the Foreign Service. My late, did I say uncle? And the late Chike Adigbo, they were very good friends. Mark Akan. I was in school, I had finished university, and during the holidays, while in university, I always traveled out. So Mark then was on attachment in Spain, and Ambassador Chike Adigbo was posted to Spain. So I visited them in Spain. And I'm like, this is foreign service, this life, blah. And I love traveling anyway. I love traveling. So I visited them there, and I said, this looks interesting because I had wanted to become a lecturer. I love teaching. I had wanted to become a lecturer. And when I saw this, I said, how do I join this foreign service? I was interested. A young girl, still in university, about to finish university, and I mean, see the life, Chike was full of life, Mark Akan was something else, it was full of life. So that was how, when I finished my youth corps, I went to the civil service, and I filled the form, and we had this guy from Cross River State. I think he's late now. I think he later became Minister of State in Foreign Affairs. Eyoma or something. He was, he was the commissioner for Cross River State. Beginning of stage 1 problem for me. And when I went there, like a young girl, and I said, okay, fill the form. I filled the forms. And they said to me, you have to see your commissioner. Which one is saying my commissioner again? I have filled the form. Okay. Your commissioner has to sign or do something so that they will see and the interview will be done. I waited the whole day to see my commissioner. I went back the next day. So I think then we had, is it Ambassador Udo? And somebody spoke to him about me. One of our senators, I complained, the late Senator Victor Akan, I complained to him that, what is this happening? He said, okay. So we spoke to Ambassador Odola. We have young girls like these. I mean, how many people do we have from Cross River State who are in the foreign service? So I went. The commissioner still refused to budge. At the end of the day, I think they had a commissioner from Lagos State who now said, Ashorobi. Who now said, young lady, what I've seen you, you've been here. In fact, I kept that shoe because I walked to that civil service waiting for my commissioner, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't going to give up. I said, I must see the end of this. I mean, I'd conduct the interview. If I fail, I know I failed. I go back home, I go to other. So Ashorobi saw me one day and said, what do you want, young lady? I said, I'm supposed to have an interview. Let me see your phone. He checked, they brought out everything. I said, okay. And I think Ambassador King Sawyer was one of the people from the service who interviewed us. And after that, I had finished my youth course, so I just traveled. And when I came back, they told me I've been admitted, I've been employed, So I went to foreign service. I mean, I didn't know what the procedure is, I didn't know that the earlier you report, the better for you. I took my time, So when I came back, I registered, and it was interesting. I was posted to protocol. There I worked with Ambassador Oba.
Yes, Ambassador Oba.
I worked with Ambassador Oba, who was a father to all of us. And I think we had a good deputy then, I've forgotten his name, but Ambassador Oba was in charge. And then protocol then, was protocol. I remember, I don't know if it was Buhari's regime or, I think it was Buhari's regime. Some letters that, I think a foreign minister was visiting or something, and Foreign Affairs was supposed to have acted on it, but it was not done. And Ambassador Oba called me to his office and said, young lady, I don't want to lose my job. I have been in this service for so and so years. I hear that assignment was given to you and you did not do your job. I said, I can't insult this man. He's like a father to me. So I said, okay, sir, I wasn't given this assignment. Let me go and check. He said, okay, go and check. So I went, check. But I know that, protocol is on the spot. Once you're given that assignment, you just have. I remember one day I was called upon. Then I was working with Ambassador Martins after Martins took over. But let me finish with Oba. So that day, they checked everything. I think it was the military regime, and you just have to, the military on the spot. So after like 3 or 4 hours, he called me back into his office. He said, my daughter, sit down. I'm very sorry. Till tomorrow, when I'm doing anything, I always think of a whole ambassador, a bloody third secretary, who was not even confirmed. He called me, sat me down in his office, and said, my daughter, I'm sorry I spoke to you in a very good way. You know how it is when you have these calls coming in from the villa, and anything can happen, He really apologized to me. I accepted, because when I went back, I had said to myself, I will resign and leave the foreign service. How can, that assignment wasn't given to me. I know that something with protocol, once you're given that assignment, you do it, or you don't turn, you do it on the spot. But I just said to myself, okay, let's see. So when he called me, I mean, that humility, it had so much impact on me till tomorrow. And I thank God for that. So that was the beginning of my career in foreign affairs. But before then, like my colleague said, Kundi, we've had our frustrations. We were on ground for more than 9 years. More than 9 years. Waiting to have a posting, just to have an attachment. Is it coming? Is it not coming? Is it coming? Is it not coming? Eventually, after the Foreign Service Academy, we came back. I was posted to the then Czechoslovakia. And I had, we had an ambassador, I think he was Musa Bello.
Was he
Very, he was a father to all of us. When I arrived there, he said, come my daughter, we travel to Germany to do our work, changing. You don't have to go.
Maybe Dimka.
Dimka was there.
But I know, tall, huge guy, very nice, very fatherly. In fact, he was in charge of, So he told me, this and this is your house, this is this. In fact, when I went there, the place was not funny. And I had to sleep on the mattress on the floor.
It's not Musa Bello.
It's not Musa
Bello. It's not Musa Bello. Musa Bello was in discipline. Musa Bello was in discipline at that time.
Inspectorate. As at that time, Musa Bello was commissioner in India.
But
that was his last post.
It was another Bello.
There are so many Bellos.
No, sorry, he was political. He was political. Yeah. He was political. Well, he was a father who was very nice to all of us. And when he left, and then I think they posted the ambassador he was posted from London, who is now a chief.
Where? Chief in where? In Zimbabwe?
No. He was posted from London.
Yeah.
He's a chief of one of these Western.
You will remember later. You will remember later.
Ariyo.
It's over now.
It's not a show.
It's over.
It's Royal Highness.
It's a Royal Highness.
It's Royal Highness.
I think their president visited Nigeria then, and we had bilateral meetings with them. I mean, I learned so much from Ambassador. I learned so much from Kigario, so much from we'll be in the office, negotiations, and then he will leave. He said, Jane, you are in charge of the mission. Bloody work secretary. But it was interesting. It was really interesting. I learned so much. But after Ariyo left, we had one other lady who came, and a political ambassador, and they were sort of at each other's neck, and I had to go beg Auntie Ejema so that there would be problems in the mission. I didn't want, because she was like,
of course.
I'm a career, and this one is political. And I said, look, Auntie, you are a career, or he's political, he's the ambassador here. Let's just, and I think she was posted from London too. She was posted from London. She had some problems in London, and she was posted. And I said to her,
It was Ambassador Ademia.
No, it's Ambassador Toby.
no,
Which year was it? It's Obil Eye from London.
Called her. We had a nickname
Go
for
on,
her because
continue.
she used to live in 1004, so we had this nickname for her, baby on board.
It was Obil Eye.
But she was posted from London.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In London, they call her Obil Eye because Obileye, the British, just break Obileye into two. It's Obil Eye.
So again, you know, I became a peacemaker between the ambassador and herself. But at the end of the day, you know, things cooled down and they worked together until we all left the mission. But again, of course, before I left, there was this Velvet Revolution coming up in Czechoslovakia. And it was so strong, the Red Square. But by the time, a year after I left, the country split into two. The Czech Republic and the Slovak Republic. So the next story is from another day.
Thank you very much, Auntie Jane. Well, I think we're getting close to time for us to have a lunch break and to give people more time. So that, but do I have anybody who would like to take the floor?
Mr. Charles.
I will close this after.
Okay.
Because
What of
I
Wale
have points to make.
from that table?
See, when I was taking them there, this is the problem with Ambassador Dr. I didn't want to pick that floor or Thompson, like that. Who is going to take the floor? Addition.
I'll stay here.
Yeah,
Good afternoon, Excellencies and our distinguished sponsors. It's my pleasure to be here. Like my previous speakers, I want to commend this initiative. I hope we will sustain it for a very long time. Inshallah. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Yes, while you called on me the other time, I wasn't ready. Just trying to gather momentum so that I have enough courage to stand before the audience. So I'm happy to be here and also to share my experience we've had from different perspectives. But I will also key in from the point of joining the foreign service. So, in line with tradition, I went through the crucible of going through the interview during the orientation aspect of the National Youth Service. Then, I think the commissioners, Federal Civil Service, State Civil Service, multinational corporations, they move around the country to interview prospective applicants into the federal or state service. So I was in the United States and I attended the interview from the Federal Civil Service Commission team, along with my co-coppers at that time. And I thought I did very, very well at the interview, to the extent that when my state government came, I refused to attend the interview. I laid all my hopes on the Federal Civil Service. And before the end of the service, names were supposed to be published in the newspapers, or you approach the civil service to collect your letter. I never saw any until almost the end. I became impatient. I was saying different names, different appointments, and so on and so forth. What's happening? So someone advised that I should approach the Federal Civil Service Commission and meet with my commissioner, then Alhaji A.A. Jima from Ilorin in Kwara State. So I met the man, and then he told me, you apply for a very special appointment like this, and you sat in Ilorin, you think manna will fall from heaven? What the hell did you think? He rebuked me, sat me down, and then called for the result of the interview. Then they brought the file. He said, you did so well. How come that you are not picked? He said, they are doing supplementary list. I should see him in 2 weeks' time. It's either going to be Foreign Affairs or Admin Officer. I didn't know which
which one is better, which one is this. So I came and as luck would shine on me, in the midst of several other applicants like me, the man was calling out names, and I discovered my appointment was the only one that was distinct. You called Mr. Odarewaju, admin officer, congratulations. Mr. Dees, information officer, congratulations. Then he called B.A. Nuruddin, foreign affairs officer, external affairs officer, the so everyone just looked around. I said, what is special about this letter of appointment that this man gave me? And after I became curious to know, to have a deeper insight of what it was all about. So I asked the man directly, said, you are given letter, you don't know that it's a very special, good appointment. In future, you become ambassador, you become. So I said, thank you very much, Baba. Then we left at that. So I reported at the foreign ministry. I collected my letter eventually, collected it, and then went to the road like Jane did. Went home and took my time. Resting, then just maybe 4 or 5 weeks. Then I came after. Then I lost more time. When I reported, coming from NYC background as a lecturer and as a games master during my service year, I was deputy, then upgraded to games master. Took my students around the country, Federal School of Art and Science in Niger State. There were 7 of them in the country at the time. So I came in the t-shirt, like Barangara with this. I said, what the hell do you think you are doing? Well, you are coming to work where? Please go back home and not dress properly. Either you are in your suit with your tie or national dress, kaftan, this, that. I said, what kind of a thing is this? So I went back, no suit at that time. So I went and surfaced again after 48 hours. Came with my kaftan, well dressed, and then I was taking documented, did all the registration and so on and so forth. Then we reported for duty. First port of call, protocol department, with my good friend and colleague from the 82 set. I think he's the only one in the gathering here. Ayo Tekwala, Sheni, Shabu, and I think Radu Shehu. All of us were there, and then we had the head of the unit, late TK Obajulua. TKO. It was on level 9, we were on level 8. Then this small gap was like a road to because of the enormous powers he had, and then he gives directive. And then that is it. Very efficient, very effective boss. Level 9, you deploy you go for this assignment, you do this. Olof Palme, Prime Minister of Sweden, is arriving tomorrow, you receive him, this, that, everything well done. And all facilities provided. Transport, accommodation, presidential lodge in Victoria Island, and then the delegation you are tied to, you had privilege of riding in the same aircraft with the president, with the VP that time. You meet big people. And then you attend meetings inside presidential villa. So it was a nice, fantastic experience. We all enjoyed it, and it was a nice time for all of us. So that was it. First posting, and then there came, immediately after a year, we were deployed to go to Foreign Service Academy. So, me, I read geography, see Otekola with political science, international relations. How are we going to cope? And I had even enlightened people say, geographer, what is he looking for? Geography, you are studying the whole world. What is the geographer? Later, when I was fully integrated, I now discovered many geographers and people from all sorts of diverse backgrounds. So I asked myself whether I was in the wrong place or something. So I laid my hand on the handbook of the Federal Civil Service to discover that qualification was degree in social sciences, arts, and humanities. So I discovered that I was I became qualified to be here. So I left to prove my mettle and also compete favorably with those from so-called relevant background. So we went to academy with all my peers, and my good friend and Nikolai came first because they tallied. I think they had 65%. That was the highest. Can you imagine the standard, the quality, and even the quality of lecturers we had at that time? We had people like Professor Lajide Aluko,
yes,
first professor of international relations in Africa south of Sahara. We had Professor Gambari, we had Professor Imobiges, strategic studies, you know, heavyweights and well-learned and well-versed. People like Aluko doesn't come to the class with any book. He talks off the cuff for 3 hours. You'll be writing and writing and writing copiously. So you can imagine the standard at that time. For somebody like Nikolai and Tepola, who made first class in ABU and overall best student in our entire Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, now scoring 65, which is... So today when I see these young boys, my average 78, 79, because you people have not gone to you know, because you do 2 weeks course and then you are examining on that. Ours was, I can equate it with a master's degree, the standard. So when I eventually went for my master's in international relations, it was a walkover. It really, really helped me, gave me a solid grounding to be able to confront this. And that further spurred me to even go for a PhD degree after retirement, which I did for 4 years and finished in 2021. So that was the standard at 64.
Yes.
You had yours at 50 or so. You are my senior. Anyway, so that was our experience at the Foreign Service Academy. We are on part 1.
Part 1.
Part 1. I'm rounding up now. I'm going into my last department before my first posting. Then I'll stop there. Then the second part is going to be completely devoted to our boss and mentor. Because I had 3 years of good, excellent working relationship with him. I cannot just scratch it on the surface. So it's going to be, that second part will be devoted to my experience with him. So from academy, came back to the ministry, and now posted to consular department. I was the sole signatory of all note verbal for diplomatic missions and international organizations in Nigeria. Sole signatory with the seal of federal government in my third secretary was heavy responsibility. Later you see AD, 5 of them in consular department. Silent words. I was sole signatory, assisted by an executive officer on level 7. And I worked with Ayatollah, with Ambassador These were my big bosses, and they had a lot of trust and confidence in me. As you know, it's a very, very sensitive assignment. Note verbal, we witnessed several cases of forgery. And as I'm a lorry man, once I pick the paper, I see the trace of names, insertion, and the rest of it. I detect it, and my boss, they follow it all through. I discover several, from MDAs to just include somebody's name illegally. So all this fraud were detected.
They don't know they were dealing with Mesuja.
End of story.
So, because of that, I got endeared to my bosses, Ayatollah, and my director, late Ambassador GJN Anena. A lot of people consider him as a bully in the service, and somehow we got along very, very well. I respect my view, my advice, my suggestion, and everything. So we had excellent working relations, and even my signature was forged several times. And then one was very difficult. They had to investigate, And then I was completely exonerated. I said, no, it cannot be him. They search and search, police, DSS, they work on it and discover that. And it's a very tempting schedule. People offer you money, they bring this, they bring that, they offer you all sorts of things, all of which I rejected. I said, no, let me do my work. Let me do my work. So I did it to the best of my ability, this high levels, sense of transparency, and then I was rewarded. One day, Ambassador Eze just called me. You know that time posting, there's no leakage, you don't know where you are going until the very last minute when it's released. He said, I posted you somewhere, you like it, you're very happy, but I'm not telling you. So that was what influenced my first posting to Saudi Arabia, to the Holy Land. And also influenced my being nominated to join the agency at that time. It was just coming up. I was among the 7 or 8 of us from the entire set that were selected to join the NIA at that time. But there were delays in screening, oral interview, and so on. So we said, a bird in the hand is worth more than a I can remember about 5 or 6 of them. So you were also the good. So I said, a bird in the hand is worth more than 1,000 in bush. So I had to speak to Ambassador Imam from my place. Then he now spoke to admin, and then they released all of us to just go on and post it. Since the interview was, final screening was not coming up in good time. And Wale just reminded me of our experience with one of our senior ambassadors, also from Kwara State, Ambassador A.G. Gubil. Upon joining the Foreign Service, me and my colleague Yusuf, he said, he had this one, the Lorry man, both of us were looking for each other. Lorry Emirates is so we never met either in primary or secondary or university. He went to ABU and I went to the greatest, Ife, dynamic and articulate.
Well done.
So, we never met, he was looking for me, I was looking for him. Eventually we connected. Now, settling down in Lagos, Bush people from Ilorin, we rented accommodation, we paid for it, it was under construction. Let us move it. Oh, story now began. Before you know, people cutting it. So this story got to Ambassador A.G. Gubil. First, he told us that, what are you even looking for in foreign service? At the Jekebun. The guy is cast, well, finished with this thing. Why are you just coming late? He said, God will take care of us. Then he said, secondly, gentlemen, I heard you people have been given first baptism in Lagos. He said, I heard about your accommodation, this and that and so on. I don't mind if you can come and stay in my boys' quarter in 25 Adeyemi Lawson on Victoria Island. It was
Ikoyi. It is in Ikoyi. Adeyemi Lawson is in Ikoyi.
Don't mind the glory, man. We are telling you.
Queen's Drive.
Queen's Drive. So we stayed there. I don't know if you people can stay in my boys' quarter. He said, without pressure, what are we doing? We don't have any alternative. So the man took us and we stayed with him until we left for our first posting to different destinations. I think Yusuf went to Tanzania, I went to Saudi Arabia. Yes. And we had quite a lot from then Kwara. When it was broken to Kwara and Kogi, then other people, went their separate ways. So I will leave it at that. as part 1. We will continue later in the afternoon for the second session. Thank you.
But the reality is that you in Lauren, you may soon jump about the cookies and send them away.
You are disturbing us.
You